and welcome to our closing out of our celebration of Pride Month. This is our last week celebrating it. So we're kicking it off with our live stream. I've got the amazing Carla on. We might be having somebody else joining us. I don't know for sure, but fingers crossed that they will be joining us, a surprise guest. I'm going to hype it up so that it's going to be Christian Bale. Just kidding.
He is ready to appear at any time. I mean, you honestly just need to say the word, and he will just magically
Christian
show up
Bale
out
will
of
be
nowhere.
there. Yeah.
How? You may ask. Just Aaron.
Right there.
Aaron has the power to just call him up at any given moment.
I summon Christian Bale whenever I want. Yes, that's what I do.
She has a special Christian Bale summoning candle.
Yes, I light it. Oh, Bailey's here for a second.
Hey, Bailey.
Hi, Bailey. If you want to try and play really quickly, we've already mentioned Christian Bale. We've already mentioned Pride. Of course, that's the free space. So you can play along for a minute if you want to.
You can get a half a bingo.
A half a bingo, yes, yes. I mean, I'm waiting to send out your stickers, Bailey, because you just keep winning them all. So I'm kind of just, and I'm kind of thinking maybe you should get something else and not just stickers because you've won so many.
Not just 14 stickers.
Yeah, it's like here, just wallpaper your room. Although I would love to see that. So maybe.
Just keep winning them, and then we want to see photos.
And we will have a wonderful Halloween design for our stickers. I've already seen it. Aaron A. has designed it, and it is amazing. I am so excited for everybody to see that come September 1st. That's when that'll happen. And anyone who signs up for our trivia night, which we're going to have rules on that because it probably will not be a free event. I will tell you that just because of expenses that go along with it. But anyone who signs up will be getting one of these either in sticker form or pin form. Haven't decided that yet. So you will automatically get one of these new designs, and they are so incredibly cool. I can't wait to show them. Honestly, they are so awesome. Okay, so we are actually going to be talking today just random stuff because, like I said, I had originally planned on interviewing drag queens, local drag queens, and I just did not plan that very well. So that's all on me because, they're all like too busy. So that's on me. Someday that'll happen. So instead, Carla was going to be off the podcast for like 2 months. Okay.
Yeah.
Now she's going to be here for the next 2 weeks. So
I'm happy to get sucked back in at any time. You know me.
I know. I'm like, okay, I'm going to design this where somehow Carla comes back in.
I mean, it's honestly not very hard. Like, hey, Carla, we got a spot open on this random thing. Sure.
So we're just going to be talking about LGBTQIA plus media that we love. Yes, Professor Marston and Wonder Woman, since I know you might not be here the whole time, I will say that, Bailey, yes, I do love that movie. We did mention that briefly on our BDSM episode because it's one of the few pretty positive and pretty accurate depictions. And if you're looking for something that's a little bit tamer than other ones, that's another reason to watch it. But not just because of that, because of representation. And I will say, though, that the family, the children of Professor Marston and his wife and everything did not want to have anything to do with that movie. And they actually say that movie is very inaccurate. So I do want to put that out there just because I feel like that's kind of important to put that out there. That doesn't mean it wasn't. It just means they just don't really like the movie or the story. So I am going to say that. But yeah, that's a great one. But we're going to mention just a lot of different media, things that we like. I just may end up spending the whole time talking about Brian Kinney. We will see how that goes.
And that's when Aaron will suddenly mute me.
Yes.
For the rest of the episode.
Not just mute you, but all of a sudden Carla disappears from the episode, and then I'll bring her back when I'm done talking about Brian Kinney. Because everybody knows I love Brian Kinney. And speaking of that, one of the many announcements I want to make before we get into this episode, we're already not even doing it the way we normally do, but whatever. I want to say our number one episode now, our most listened to episode, most downloaded episode, is our first Queer as Folk episode. So another square there for you, Bailey, from last year, from last Pride Month. That is now our number one episode. It has defeated Lucifer. And I like to think that I'm very happy about it. Honestly, it's not that I don't like Lucifer or I don't like that episode. It's just Queer as Folk is my favorite show, as you know. And so that just made me excited. That was my goal. Was to have that one. And
That's
now
another
it
candle
is.
she's been lighting.
Yes. I've been lighting that nightly. Sending up a prayer. And I like to think Brian Kinney would be so happy to know that he topped Lucifer.
That sounds so on brand.
I've been saving that joke. I'm like, please let Carla say that joke.
Oh my god.
So yeah. But I do think he would just love to know that. So, and
I have no doubt.
And already our second Queer as Folk episode is on track to become one of our most popular episodes of this year so far. I mean, that one is just, so yeah. So Bailey left for a second to check off Queer as Folk on your card. Good. And I'm just going to say, since I know you'll be leaving, this will be mentioned at the end. I'll just mention it now. And I'll mention at the end too. Another announcement, next week's live stream, Carla will be back with me and we will be discussing Josh Rubin's movie, Scare Me. So that'll be exciting. And that is on Shudder. So Shudder and horror movie, Bailey. We're doing that to celebrate his new movie, Werewolves Within, which I'll mention a little bit more about in just a second. So that I'm really, really excited to talk about that movie. We will be spoiling it. So please go watch that movie. Like I said, there's a lot of comedy in it. So it's not a lot of graphic violence. So, if that stuff gets to you, you could probably handle this one, I think.
Yeah, so even people who say that they don't really like horror movies can probably watch it and not run away sobbing. Well, I wasn't going to name names, but you're going to go there.
Yeah. Meg, I'm doing a summoning thing for something, some reason. I don't know.
I don't know why. Can't imagine.
I know. And then the other thing is, I do want to say, since this is our live stream, I want to thank some of our supporters. And I'm pretty sure, because sadly, what Anchor is doing now is it only gives me your email addresses. So I can email you anytime I want to, but it doesn't tell me who the person is. So I do know, though, by looking, is that I believe one of our donors is on the podcast with me right now, Carla.
Could it be?
She can correct me if she's wrong. If I'm wrong. If she's wrong.
You are correct. If I'm wrong.
If you're wrong, Carla, please correct me.
If you're wrong, Carla, can you please own up to it? No.
But I also want to give a shout out to Robin, to Joyce, and to Sasha for supporting the show. This is a new thing where you subscribe to it. And let me put this up here right now. So support the show by subscribing today. Just $2.99 a month. You get bonus content like our Christian Bale episode that Carla and I put out. That's one of our most popular episodes. And now you can only listen to it if you pay $2.99 a month. Of course, you're going to be helping to, sorry. Words just went. I'm reading this too. It's right in front of me. You'll also be helping a Black Lives Matter organization and the Stop Asian Hate organization. And you'll get bonus content, like I said, shout outs on your live stream. And after 6 months of support, you either get a chance to be on an episode, including our live streams, or determine the topic of an episode within reason. That's all up to my discretion. So just follow that link to subscribe today. That always will be in our show notes or on our website. And also to let you know, if you subscribe, this may come in handy for our Halloween trivia event. So that's just a little preview there. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Okay. So were there any other No. I think I've made all my notes. I'm sorry.
Are you sure, Erin? Are you sure?
Such a random episode. I'm just like, okay, let's just talk. Okay, so Carla, though, I do want to know what you're into right now.
Well, right now I'm into looking at like every streaming site and just trying to put together a list of stuff that I really want to watch. Because I just, like I have this one thing on Hulu and this one thing on Netflix and this one thing on Prime. So I'm just, trying to make a list so that I don't keep forgetting the stuff that I need to watch. Because I'm always like, oh, I know what I'm going to watch next. And then I don't because I didn't write it down. So, yeah. And then, but I'm also on the last season of Queer as Folk. So I will soon find out how this story ended. And I'm very excited because I want I just want to know what happens. Like, and this is one of those shows that actually gets to wrap up. Unlike so many shows that just like unceremoniously get canceled and then you're like, oh, but what, So I'm excited to see how it wraps up.
I am so excited too. I'm also very nervous.
Yeah. So, okay. So Erin's favorite Brian season was season 4. And I, as she could tell from my tweets, was not maybe as enthusiastic as she had hoped. And then she tells me, oh yeah, so there's some things that I know you're going to get upset about with Brian in season 5. And I'm like, okay, well, that just tells me what I need to know. As far as, whether, Brian will go down as one of my, he won't go down in anybody, but whether Brian will go down as one of my.
Especially Lucifer. He did top Lucifer. We have already established that. Sorry. Oh man, imagine Tom Ellis in a season of Queer as Folk. Sorry, I'm just picturing that now. Tom Ellis.
Oh
my God. Sorry.
Take a deep breath. Because that would have been really, really hot.
Yes.
But yes, so like I'm kind of feeling like Brian won't have enough redemption in my eyes to become one of my favorite characters in the show. And yeah, so we'll see how this works out for Erin.
Yeah, for Brian, there are 2 scenes that I'm very curious about your reaction. One of them is, well, basically, I'm just curious about how you view him for the last 4 episodes of the series. Ooh. That's what I will be very curious about. And I already know, I already have a feeling how you're going to react.
Based on my 5,000 tweets about Brian?
But we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Well, if you're just joining us, because I know I think Bailey left. So bye, Bailey. I know you're going to see this later. And I just posted our bingo card because you could already get bingo by now. Because we've mentioned Pride is the Free Space. We've mentioned Christian Bale. We mentioned Shudder. We mentioned a horror movie. We all laughed. I'm sure I said awesome because it's the word I say more than any other word. That really is the Free Space.
Yeah.
We did mention Queer as Folk a lot. Netflix was mentioned. So yeah. Okay. And then here's another horror movie too. So a horror movie would have been mentioned no matter what. So what I'm into is I watched Josh Rubin's latest movie, Werewolves Within, the other day on Thursday. And it's really good. Again, this is another movie that I think even if you're not normally into horror, I think you could handle it. I've heard a lot of people describe it as Knives Out, kind of like a Knives Out movie meets like and that's a very good way to describe it, I think. I wish I could remember the exact wording that the critic used, but it is kind of a combo of that. It's funny. It's a video game adaptation, which I know people kind of, scoff at that, but I think it's really well done. I think the cast is really good. I think pretty much all the performances are really, really good. I like the score a lot, the cinematography, the script. And I just think Josh Rubin is a very, very, very talented director. And I'm telling you, he is going to be huge. And just give him his Darkman reboot, please, because I know he really wants to do that. So please give him his Darkman reboot. I think he would do a great job with it. So that's what I'm into. That opens in limited. I think it's limited release on the 24th. And then it will be available to stream. Like you can rent it, I think July 2nd, I believe. And like I said, once again, our live stream next Saturday will be Carla will be joining me. We'll be talking about his other movie from last year that's on Shudder called Scare Me. So that will be a lot of fun too. I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so let's get into our random fun talk about different LGBTQIA plus media that we love. So, Carla, I want to first start out with movies. So, we'll start out with movies. Are there any other movies you wanted to make sure to give a shout out to or that you just personally love?
Yes, and I'm going to try to not mention every last one of them. But I watched the movie. I swear
Every
I will
last
try.
one.
I make no promises. I'm like, well, I can. No, I can't promise anything. Okay, so this movie that I watched recently called The Half of It. It's on Netflix.
I love that movie.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. I'm glad. So this movie it stars Leah Lewis as Ellie Chu, Alexis Lemire as Esther Flores, and Daniel Lemer as Paul Munsky, and it's a really sweet movie. Like it takes the Cyrano story and gives it a twist because it's this girl who is selling essays to help pay the bills for because her dad
Mhm.
has some like serious depression issues and he's not really able to do very much. So she's just bringing in money however she can. And this happens to be one of the ways that is the most reliable for her. And then this one guy says, "Hey, listen. So there's this girl I really like, but I can't really talk to her. Can you help me write a romantic letter?" And she says, "Okay, one letter, and that's it." And then it devolves into this whole thing where she's just having all of these exchanges with the girl Aster, and they form this like intellectual bond and this between the fact that that Paul is cute and also seems to be writing all of these really nice things. Aster starts to get feelings for him, only to come to find out at towards the end that no, it's been Ellie this whole time who's been sending these letters, and there's just so much about it to love because there are um, so many I think like realistic things that happen in it with the way that she deals with coming out, not coming out, and it's a very selective way that she goes about it, but it doesn't feel like she's necessarily hiding very much as much as she's just living. She's just living her life.
Mhm.
But there are a couple of moments where you think that just everything is falling off the rails. But it's just a beautiful story about friendship, about finding out who you are, um, the many different types of love that there are in your life. And I recommend it so much because I was kind of like I liked the whole thing, but I just felt very dark and lonely for a very long time, and it does end on a very bright, hopeful note, and that made it just made everything else lighter by comparison. Absolutely, fully recommend. Um, Another movie and this is one that I watched a million years ago with a friend of mine, um, called Fresa and Chocolate, and it's strawberry and chocolate, and it's a Cuban film from the '90s. It's it's so good. Like I just rewatched it today, and there's the main character, well, one of the main characters, Diego, he's gay, and he's, the word flamboyant is used in the descriptions of Diego, and he tries to seduce this guy David, who wants nothing to do with him, but then David tells another friend, so hey, listen, this guy is gay, and also I don't think he's very communist. So, and of course this is Cuba, so that's not okay there. Um, so Miguel tells him, okay, you have to go back to his place and find things that we can turn him in for. So basically he goes in there with bad motives, but he comes to know Diego really well, and they become friends. They have like all of these deep, meaningful conversations about Diego's sexuality, about life, about art, um, and the ending is ambiguous, but you are left with um, this appreciation for what Diego as a gay man has to deal with just to exist, because he's basically not allowed to be out for fear, not to be publicly out for fear that he's going to, I don't know, be harmed in just like every possible way in his life. And as it is, once he loses his job as a curator for a museum, then suddenly he's blacklisted and he can't get any work anywhere. So he has to find alternatives to continue to, the living, and but just watch it. Basically, like it's on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Just type fresa y chocolate full length, or just strawberry and chocolate, or whatever. Just Google it, man. It's available. I promise you.
Just do it.
Just do it, okay? And the other film that I will mention is The Children's Hour, which I know was mentioned in the last episode. Okay, Aaron, like I forgot, okay, man.
That was like a year ago.
It was a year ago. So let's remind the people. It stars Shirley MacLaine and Audrey Hepburn, and it they're school teachers at this like private school, and this horrible little girl happens to see them embracing, and from the angle that she's sitting at, she's like, oh, they kissed. So she goes and tells her grandma, hey, this horrible thing happened that I was forced to witness with my innocent eyes. And then word spreads like wildfire. They're in a tenuous situation with their jobs. Um, Audrey Hepburn's character's boyfriend pretty much dumps her, and as they're having this agitated conversation, Audrey Hepburn's character Karen says to, oh my god, I just blanked on her name. Shirley MacLaine's character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to look up while you're doing that. I'm like,
I just watched 13 clips on it, but of course, why would I remember her name? But tells her, there's nothing to feel guilty of, like this will blow over eventually. And Shirley MacLaine's character says, you don't understand. Like, I actually do have these feelings. I've never felt this way for a man. I've only felt it for you. So there's this huge revelation. And this movie was from like 1961, I think, and it's based on a play from 1932, I believe. So this is something that, when we think of, and okay, so the representation in it isn't great. And once you watch it, because you gotta watch it, it's really interesting to watch, and the acting's very good as well. But once you see it, you'll be like, okay, I get why it's not great. But it's not great in the sense that Shirley MacLaine's character feels like she's a bad person for having these feelings. So like all of this internalized homophobia is really what makes it not great. And it's just really sad because it's a great movie, And it was in fact one of the first movies that I saw that really had a a character who outed themselves on screen. So it was, I saw it and I was like, wow. But then it also kind of like drills into your head the idea that like, oh, okay, so this is just reinforcing the fact that being gay is bad because she feels bad about herself. Got it. Okay. So it's like, like go into it with the thought in your mind that like they did this wrong, but
Mhm.
it's still a good movie and it's still um I don't know, I think for the fact that there's a lot of realism, unfortunately, to her reaction to herself, particularly because it's set, it was made in the '60s based on a '30s play, and the fact that that's the way a lot of people still feel these days, unfortunately, it's still, I think, worth looking at.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, when we talked about it last year, I think we also talked about you know, the fact that it was representation at the time, but there was also, like you said, there are issues with it. It's not a very happy movie.
It's really not.
No, and her name is Martha.
Thank you.
You're
I'm like,
like,
does it start with an H?
well, it does have
Is
an
it
H in
Helen?
it. It has an H
I
in it.
know. I know. Like, it doesn't even start with it. Oh, what is wrong with you, Carla?
Yeah, I mean, I could literally name 100 different movies. So I'll try to just name three, because then I'm just sitting here thinking about like 10 other ones that I could mention. But I will start with one. I have mentioned this movie before. Actually, I think all three of these I have mentioned these before on the podcast, but I want to bring them up again. The first one I'll mention is All Over the Guy, which is a romantic comedy. And the only real difference in it is with two men. There's also a heterosexual couple as well, but it mainly is the focus on these two men who they meet. They're set up on a blind date and they hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. And one of them is someone who sleeps around a lot. He's kind of like a tamer version of Brian. So I immediately went, oh, wait, Carla probably won't even like this guy, but
To be clear, though, I don't like. It's not that I don't like Brian because he's promiscuous. I don't like Brian because he's a
I
tool.
know. That's what I mean. It's like he's like Brian, not in the promiscuous
Oh,
side.
okay.
He's like Brian in
And that he's a
that.
tool. Got it.
No, in that not consensual. I walk right into that one. No, no. That he doesn't necessarily believe in commitment or love or that kind of stuff. Uh, and so they don't like each other. Like they have this whole scene where they sit there and and the one guy who's a romantic, he's like talking about how much he loved In and Out, which if you know, In and Out is considered actually really not a great movie because there's a lot of issues with it. But the guy sitting there talking about it, and then the other guy, why didn't I write their names down? I'm just saying the other guy one, guy two. Look this up here. That's so
You
horrible,
just pulled
Aaron.
a Carla.
I did. I'm like, the guy won. So you've got Dan Bukatinsky, who is also the writer of this, and Richard Ruccolo, who I think he was actually married to Jenny Garth, which is probably what you know him from, are the two main leads. And Dan plays Eli, and Eli is the romantic character, and then Richard plays Tom, and Tom is not a romantic character. So Eli and Tom are having this conversation. And Eli is like, In and Out was just, so good. And then Tom goes on this rant about how actually how there's a lot of internalized homophobia, how it's not a good movie. And he goes on and on. And then under his breath, Eli's like, I'm not even going to attempt to mention the birdcage. Yeah, so it's a very interesting conversation. And so they don't get along at all. And then, of course, what happens is then they see each other at like a thrift market thing, and then they become friends. And then it's kind of like when Harry met Sally in a way. It except the characters, it's not over that much of a time span, but it's kind of like that. And it's just a cute romantic comedy. I own it. I've seen it so many times that it's sad that I didn't remember the characters' names. Because I have literally seen this movie so many times that when I saw Dan, who plays Tom, when I saw him in an episode of Friends and he was just a waiter in the episode, and I went, hey, it's Eli. I mean, plays Eli, sorry. It's Eli from Oliver the Guy. No one else in the world will know what I'm talking about. So I was excited to see a waiter in Friends.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But it's so great just because it's a romantic comedy, and it's just a romantic comedy. Yes, there's painful stuff in it. Tom's family is not a healthy family, but it's just so nice to see a story about two men where it's not all about pain. It's just about just a romantic comedy because everybody gets to see themselves in that. The second one I'm going to recommend does have a lot of painful stuff in it, and that's Get Real, which is from the late 90s. It's an English movie, and it's about a teenager who is coming to terms with his sexuality. And he finds out that one of the most popular guys in school, who, he's a jock, all that stuff, he is closeted and he's gay as well. And hey, Jesse! And so they meet in at one of the kind of like a bathhouse. It's not exactly a bathhouse, but it's kind of like that where they meet. And it's about getting real, really. I mean, the title fits it. It's about what do you accept from your partner, from someone you like, and coming to terms with who you are and your sexuality and everything like that. And it's just a really good movie, especially even for that time. And I just really love that one a lot. So I highly recommend that one. And yes, I agree. The shirt that Carla is wearing is fine as hell. It's a Fandom Thing Pod shirt. I'm blue. I have a sweatshirt in pretty much the same color. Yes, so you can pick those up at our Redbubble store. You will also be able to, starting September 1st, when we get that cool ass Halloween design, you'll be able to get that too. But yes, I love the shirt. It's so awesome to be able to see it and everything like that. And I've been meaning to mention it. I didn't because I failed, but it's beautiful. I love it. It's wonderful. And hello, Jesse. Welcome. If you want to play along, Jesse, with our bingo card, here's a link to the bingo card. You could pretty much get bingo. I'll go over what we had in a minute. And then the last, hey, Panda, you missed our talk about Brian earlier and how Brian has topped Lucifer because Queer as Folk has taken over as our first Queer as Folk episode as our most popular episode. So Brian would be very excited to know that he topped Lucifer. So you missed that from the beginning. But the last one I want to mention, I just finished watching it again for the upteenth time, is this movie called A Home at the End of the World. I will just put up because it's sitting right here. This is with Colin Farrell, Robin Wright, and Dallas Roberts. And I adore Colin Farrell. I think Colin Farrell is an amazing, incredibly gifted actor. Yes, he's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. But he's also a really good actor and he doesn't get enough credit. And this movie is a very different, unique movie. He plays a character, Bobby, who I don't think I've ever seen a character like this on screen before. And his life is filled with so much loss and so much tragedy. I mean, spoilers for the first few minutes of the movie. His brother dies in this way that I guess my mom said, actually, because it takes place first in the 70s all the way up to 80s, 90s. My mom said actually this happened a lot. Like his brother runs through a glass door and doesn't know he's like on drugs and dies. And it's a very traumatizing scene to watch in the movie, I will say. And he slowly is losing all his family. And then Bobby meets somebody. He meets Johnny. And when they're in high school, and to let you know, Queer as Folk fans, the actor who plays Hunter in Queer as Folk plays the young Johnny in this movie. So just to let you know, it's a really good movie. And you watch the character Bobby, who goes through all this loss, all his family's loss, all this grief, and yet he has so much love in his heart. And he really, they never outright say it, but he's really a pan character. That's really his sexuality. Johnny is gay. And it takes place, of course, like I said, a lot of it 80s, 90s. So you do have a lot of stuff dealing with AIDS. But then Robin Wright is also there, and Robin Wright loves Bobby. And then they end up having this unique family of these three people getting together and starting a family. And it's just such a beautiful story about finding your family and how family can be found. And it doesn't necessarily mean, um, your family isn't necessarily the family you're born into. Sometimes it can be a family you find. And with the Bobby character, it's just so incredible to see this character that literally he has absolutely no qualms about sexuality, about who you are, about people. He is one of those people that truly and honestly loves every single human being and has just open heart and open mind for every single person. And that's why this movie is so beautiful. And that's why I just always hype it up because of Bobby, because of Colin Farrell's performance as well. He doesn't get to play characters like this very often that are very innocent in some ways, and very different and unique. So I highly recommend that one. I know some people have issues with the ending, and I understand that, but I still think it's a great movie. Um, and so, Jesse, thank you for stopping in. I know you said you're on baby duty, but thank you. Thank you for coming out to support our little random
Just have
fun
the baby
here.
listen to us. I mean,
What?
like, our voices are so gentle. I feel like if the baby listens to us, we'll help your baby go to sleep faster.
Exactly. That's what we're here. We're
Yes.
here to sing lullabies to your baby.
Yes. We'll sing some wonderful lullabies.
Yes.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
we will. So very quickly, because I did post the link to the bingo card. So if anyone else wants to play, Bailey was here for a little bit. She had to leave. She didn't get bingo. She was one away from bingo. She sent me her card to show me which one. But we have, of course, Pride is a free space. We've mentioned Christian Bale. We've mentioned Shudder. We've mentioned a horror movie. We've all laughed. I've said awesome probably 20,000 times by now. We mentioned Queer as Folk. We mentioned Netflix. And of course, we've gone on tangents already. And I think that's all we've mentioned so far. So you might already get a bingo. Who knows if you want to play for the chance to win a sticker. The link is in the comments there. So go ahead and click on that. Okay, and then I want to mention really quickly before we move on to TV, we did a poll to see if there was a movie that you wanted us to make sure to watch. And I put in there Love Simon, But I'm a Cheerleader, Tangerine, and now I'm forgetting what the fourth one was that I put in there. Anyway, it doesn't matter because Love Simon won decidedly, which kind of doesn't surprise me. But I just want to know, Carla. So, have you watched Love Simon, Carla?
I have watched it. I have watched it as of 11 a.m. this morning, my time.
Did you like it?
I did. It was a sweet movie. I mean, it had its flaws, but it was, I thought, very. I'm trying to like put all of my thoughts into one jar, and they're not fitting. So I'm trying to like do the mental gymnastics of funneling them in there. But I really I love the ending. I thought the ending was just so sweet and completely what I had kind of hoped for those characters. I'm trying not to spoil it in case anybody hasn't seen it because it's just
Yeah.
really nice. But I had a major problem um, with Simon kind of using a black woman character to keep his secrets hidden. It was just really gross and it made me very uncomfortable the way that they went about that. Um, I don't know, like it really took me out of the all of the other elements of the movie because
Mhm.
you know, Black women already don't have a ton of representation in of like good representation in media, and here's one, and it seems like she's going to be great, and she doesn't seem to be like a token Black person, but then the way that she's used by Simon, I didn't really think that there was a good excuse for him doing that. Um, but the story itself, as far as him and his coming out, um, I really appreciated that they didn't make it too that it didn't go too far one way or another. Like it wasn't like his parents kicked him out, and it's not like he felt safe and comfortable immediately. There was that in between time when he thought that his father just didn't want to really talk to him anymore. His mother was just kind of quiet about it until she actually spoke up, which is what she should have done from the beginning, and told him, "Yes, absolutely, I embrace you as you are." Um, but yeah, those were my thoughts on the movie that I just saw a few hours ago.
Yeah, and I like this movie a lot. We were hoping, spoiler, our guest, our special person that was supposed to come on, maybe was going to be Meg. So I know in my tweet I said both hosts are on here, but that was a scheduled tweet, so I apologize. But I know Meg loves this movie a lot, so that was one reason I was hoping she would be on here to express her love for this. So maybe she will still hop on, and then she can jump in and express her love for the movie. What I appreciate about this movie is I think eventually watching everybody be accepting of him and it not being I don't know, like this very painful, awkward. I mean, that's not really the right word, but not being this very like there's not a lot of homophobia in the movie is what I'll say. And that I appreciate. And it's not that it's all an easy ride and an easy journey. It's just a lot less painful than you're used to seeing. And I think it also reflects what I think the younger generation is like, from what I've heard from people who have kids, is that, the younger generation is a lot more accepting and not as judgmental and not as, homophobic and all of that. So I think that reflects really well in the movie. I think that's reflected really well. I think it's got one of the cutest Ferris wheel scenes I have ever seen in a movie. That's all
Of
I'll
all of
say.
the romantic Ferris wheel moments in a film, this is definitely up there.
Yes, it's a lot better than the Notebook's Ferris wheel scene because the Notebook's Ferris wheel scene is questionable
Yeah.
since he's threatening to kill himself. So, you know,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. Tiny
essentially.
bit different. Just a tiny bit different.
Yeah, and I have to say, I actually really love The Notebook. We have given The Notebook a lot of crap on this podcast, but I actually really like that movie, so I will confess to that. Even though I see why it's incredibly harmful, but I still love it. But I do think Love Simon's Ferris wheel thing is a lot better than the one in The Notebook, and I think it's so sweet. It's just so sweet. It's just it's such a cute little scene. And then I want to bring it to TV by mentioning, I don't know if you've watched it, but I just finished watching Love Victor, which is considered kind of the sequel to Love Simon, but it's a TV show. So it just wrapped up its second season on a cliffhanger. So I really hope this show is coming back because the
I mean,
cliffhanger
who
is a
knows?
cliffhanger that like, it just makes you want to just bang your head into a wall if it's not coming back. So did you watch this show at all? Or will it just be
No.
me?
No, it'll just be you talking about it. Like I was like, okay, well, I just watched Love Simon. Maybe I'll check out Love Victor. And I was like, oh, it has episodes. Okay, I'm gonna pass on it at this time.
Yeah, it's like 20 episodes. They're pretty short episodes. I mean, they're 30 minutes. So I guess not pretty short, but short comparatively to like an hour long thing. And I like it a lot. What I like about it is there seems to be a lot more representation in this one. And I mean, so I won't get into too much because I don't want to spoil it for Carla within that realm. But I really love the actor who plays Victor. He's really good. And the way they tie it in is he's writing to Simon. So you get a lot of voiceover from Simon. So he's kind of writing to Simon about, him coming out, and his family just moved to Atlanta, and he's crushing on this guy. And then he also starts dating a woman, or a girl, not a woman. Sorry. is high school. Sorry.
Whoa.
But it's pretty good. It's sweet. It's cute. So I recommend that one. And we did have a recent new listener, and I was trying to look up the name here just to credit, but who had mentioned they really, really want us to cover Love Simon and Love Victor on this show and do an episode on that. And I did mention that probably will not be this year, unless when we did a poll about what would make you want to become a member, like what bonus content. And it was pretty much a tie between fanfic and television shows, like episodes and stuff. So we're going to do Freaks and Geeks is going to be our next bonus episode probably. And then we'll be doing fanfics. So if you want to watch those, you have to become a supporter of the show for $2.99 a month. But maybe we'll do Love Victor as a bonus one as well. But just shout out to you for I just want to say, just getting any feedback from listeners is really incredible and amazing. And I really do appreciate it. And so that leads me into another little tangent here. So tangent for the bingo card. So, if anyone else is playing
at this point, Bailey probably has like 2 bingo cards.
Probably
already,
and she doesn't even know it. She doesn't even know it. She doesn't even know it. I'm telling you, I'm just gonna it's just gonna be like a box filled with stickers for Bailey. She'll just decorate her bathroom.
All I want is the picture when she's done wallpapering a room in her house with stickers. That's all I want.
So Bailey, since I know you're coming back and you are actually going to watch this, you told us that you were. Please send us that picture when you get those stickers, because I'm also want to make sure they're kind of, I don't know, parsed out between that and our upcoming Halloween design, because I know I can't stop talking about it, but that's because it's just really awesome. And you will see when it gets revealed how amazing this Halloween design is. But I just want to, since we're going on a tangent, I just want to give a shout out because I forgot to do this on the past couple episodes, because I admit, I apologize. I'm bad sometimes at checking iTunes. But I do appreciate anyone who rates us and gives us reviews. And we did get a review from Miss, and I'm probably mispronouncing this, so apologies, Fonfrias, Fonfries, and just said, wow, great podcast, super deep dive into so many great shows. And then Rocky for Real, fan of the fandom, great pod with a super nurturing and educated on the subject host. Thank you. I'm very nurturing. That's my middle name. Highly recommend, especially in all caps, if you already know about the fandom topic yourself. We've also had other ones, saying love it, really entertaining. You can tell the hosts and panelists are really having fun and love talking about the topic, sometimes funny, sometimes serious. Sometimes I cry. I'm just adding that in. That's not something that they actually said. There's always something to keep me coming back for the next episode. Also love the recommendations. So I just want to say thank you so much. And if you want to, please rate and review us on iTunes. That does help us get found in that big wide world of podcasts. I haven't said that in a long time on this show, so I'm saying it now. Okay, so let's move on to TV shows. Are there any TV shows or even TV characters that you want to talk about, Carla?
Just a few.
She's got this really serious. I have a feeling this is going to be for another hour. So
just a list.
I've only got a couple, so
just tiny small list. Okay, so some of these I'll just mention because they don't really get into the character, or the show got canceled, and we didn't really get to explore much. Firefly and Nara, but. So there has been, and most of these are like really recent, because I feel like representation on TV up until very recently was just very cartoonish, very reliant on tropes and stereotypes and just really more harmful than helpful. But one of the best examples I can think of right now, and of course now the show has been canceled, so just enjoy it on Netflix and watch the previous two seasons. But Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, one of the main characters is Mo, who is a uh, uh, okay. I'm like, there's so many descriptions. So Mo is black and heavy and gender fluid and gay. So that and Mo has a great many wonderful storylines as a character, and he doesn't get just it starts off kind of questionably where you think, okay, this person's going to be pegged into just the sassy black friend character, but then thankfully the writers allowed Mo to evolve and to have depth and to have his own life and stories that we get to explore. And it's he's one of my favorite characters on the show, not just because he has the most spectacular voice. Everybody in the show sings, but oh my gosh, when Mo sings, you're just like, oh, your heart sweats. Like, oh my god. Um, but I really did like the direction in which they took his character. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Rosa, who, she has this moment where she like fully comes out and she says, you have 30 seconds to ask questions, go. And then people ask her like all of these silly questions about well, most of them were, a couple of them were serious, a couple of them were just like typical Brooklyn Nine-Nine humor, but they fully embraced her as a bisexual woman on the show. And it was partly because Stephanie Beatrice, who plays Rosa, is bisexual and she wanted to have that representation available on TV. Schmidt's Creek, we're not going to get into because we've had like 2 episodes about it, but just to put that back out there, Schmidt's Creek. On The Boys, you have Maeve, who is one of the superheroes, and she's bi. And I think that Maeve is, I think, a really interesting character because she's complex, and you're not really sure, what side she stands on. You're not really sure what goes on with her, and I think that in the second season they really explored her more, because in the first season she was just kind of like shoveled off into a corner, and I was like, what are you doing? She's a fantastic character. But in the second season, in the second season, they allowed her to. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. Okay, I would really like a grilled chicken Caesar salad. All right, what's wrong with that? Is that so bad?
Please send Carla a grilled chicken Caesar salad. Send me one too while you're at it.
Because doesn't that sound amazing? Yes, it does.
It does.
But in the second season, Maeve is given so much more to do, and I really appreciate that she gets to flourish more as a character, because I really feel like a lot of the times they'll include a character who is LGBTQIA plus, and then it's like they'll say that and they'll let them have their little gay stories, but it'll be like in a quiet corner where nobody can really need to focus on them. Mm-hmm. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, you have, of course, what the one with the mustache whose name is not Gary.
I didn't watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, so I'm sorry. I will look it up though while you.
Thank you. He comes to the realization that he's bi, and it's such just a beautiful, the way that it gets celebrated on the show is fantastic, because he gets this whole song about being bi and just
he really
Daryl, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I knew it had a Y in it. See, Barry, Daryl, close enough. So, but he gets to really celebrate who he is, and he comes to this knowledge kind of, in middle age. So it's an interesting perspective. And then later on, one of the characters, one of the women on the show, starts dating a woman, and it's not, and that didn't get like the big bold celebration that Daryl's coming out did. But Valencia, her bisexuality is more quiet, but it's just as important because it does become a big part, not her sexuality, but her relationship with this woman becomes, one of the storylines. Shrill, Fran, who is Annie's best friend, is a lesbian, and she starts dating um, their friend, and it's you just got to watch it. It's really good, and Fran
I
is
haven't seen the
fantastic.
second season. I've only seen the first
Oh,
season of Shrill. I know I've got to watch the second season, but
yeah, yeah. It's a show that I wasn't sure I would like. I ended up really loving it. Um, they moved a lot of pieces around that made it click for me, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, check that out. Stumptown, which canceled, but the main character played by Colby Smulders was canonically bi. She was canonically bi, and you saw her having um, kisses and adult sleepovers and relationships with men and women, and it was amazing because did I mention that she's the main character on this primetime show? And I was so mad when they didn't renew it because on top of the fact that it was just a really cool show to watch, she's canonically bi and she's the main character. I mean, come on. Um, I've already mentioned Firefly and Inara. The Good Place, um, Eleanor is bi.
yeah.
She's constantly thirsting after Tahani, which, understandable. Um,
And Janet too. She does have
and
some
Janet,
for Janet.
yes, she does throw some heat Janet's way. And the last one that I'll mention is on The Legend of Korra, okay, which is an animated show. It's the successor to Avatar. And Korra is the main character. She's the new Avatar. Asami is at the beginning she's her romantic rival when both Korra and Asami are lusting after Mako, the hot guy in the show. And then in the last season, they start gravitating towards each other, and the show it's not like they kiss or anything. It's a very it's done in a very like tame way, but they do kind of run off into the sunset together. And the show's creators even said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, it's because they're gay." Like it wasn't
Mhm.
anything um, huge, but it was something huge because it's an animated series that is kind of showing kids and anybody who watches The Legend of Korra that hey, yeah, your avatar, your hero isn't straight. And like wow, because that's not representation that I think um it's becoming more prevalent in cartoons than I think even on like human cast TV, but I think it's being handled really really well these days. So I think that there's been a lot of progress on television with representation. There's still a long ways to go, but I see like there is forward momentum, and that's very encouraging.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the ones I'm mentioning are older ones, and they're not necessarily always the greatest representation, but I love the characters so much, and they were important at that time. I'll start off with Ricky Vasquez from My So-Called Life. And this was groundbreaking. This was the first time you ever had an out gay teen male on a network show. It was incredible, incredibly groundbreaking. And the show also had a gay teacher who was living with his lover. And it was just a very, I mean, that show deserved more than one season. We're going to be covering that show later this year in November. We're going to be talking about that show. So I will gush about that. It's the only time I can stand Jared Leto. I also want to say really quickly, I really loved that Carla and Meg gave Josh a hard time about that on the Twist My Arm podcast because I did too when I was interviewed. I'm like, Jared Leto.
I know.
Anyway,
I was like, what? What?
I know. I mean, I love Jordan Catalano. Jordan Catalano is problematic as heck, but I still love Jordan Catalano. But Ricky Vasquez was he was so much like every gay guy that I hung out with and was friends with in high school. And he broke my heart and he had a struggle. And it was also awesome that the guy that you see coming out of the closet on that show in high school in prime time is not a white male. That's also incredibly important. And Wilson Cruz is just, he's so good in the role. And, you know, you had this character that would be featured, he'd be in the women's restroom hanging out with the women. And I had friends that's what they did too. And it was so incredible. That show to me was the most accurate depiction of high school, period. But that scene is just incredible that they showed that on a network television show, which is part of the reason why I think the show was canceled. Also because they scheduled it on Thursdays, and I believe it was Thursday nights, and then they started Friends, and it just kind of just failed. And it was ABC, and they just didn't give it enough of a chance. I think if it had been around today, it would have been picked up by a streamer or something like that, because it was such a good show. And Ricky was such an amazing, beautiful, wonderful character. And he wore eyeliner, and he was just so beautiful. It was sad. His story was tragic, but there was also hope in it towards the end, especially. And I really would have loved to have seen his character's growth. I would have loved to have seen him find a boyfriend and that struggle as well. And then, of course, there would have been a struggle with other things that happened. I know that show's from the 90s, but I know Carla hasn't watched it, so I didn't want to spoil what happened, where his character went, because she needs to watch it. It's a quick watch. It's only like 8 episodes or something sad and depressing,
it's a tiny,
like that.
like mini season.
It is, and it ends on a huge cliffhanger.
Isn't it the worst? I absolutely hate when they do that. Like, just let them have a resolution to this cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so sad. I mean, we've heard from the creators what would have happened, but it's still really sad. So I just really wanted to mention him. I'm going to mention Jack from Dawson's Creek, which we're going to talk about Dawson's Creek later this year. And yes, Jack could also be seen as kind of a eunuch. I think that changed in later seasons, and he was given more. It was shown as a fully fleshed out character and not just the best friend of, Jen. I'm like, how could I not remember Michelle Williams' character's name? But I think that changed. And that was also groundbreaking. That was also really groundbreaking. He, of course, famously kissed a man, which was also just revolutionary, sadly. It's so sad when you say this stuff is revolutionary, but it was back then. And I just liked the character of Jack. And I thought his coming out story was really good. I think there's a beautiful, beautiful scene between him and his father when his father finally starts to sort of accept him. And this is after Jack has gone up and kissed this boy who ended up going back to his other boyfriend. And Jack is just devastated. And he's also devastated because he's like, nothing in my life is going to be easy, is what he keeps saying. And he's on the kitchen floor and he's crying. And his dad comes over, and his dad said, I'm so proud to have a gay son. And it's such a beautiful moment because his dad has not been supportive at all until this moment, really. And it's just a great scene to watch. And it's so healing for Jack, and it's what Jack needed so much. So I just want to give a call out to Jack. This is another character that could also be seen as also a caricature and also going to stereotypes, but I still love him. Javier on, oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to say this and then we're going to add someone in here in a minute here. So Javier on Felicity. I know that sometimes he's thought of as a stereotype, but I adore him. He is the best, and he's so amazing, and he has some of the best lines, and he calls a lot of people on their BS. And I adore him. I love him. I love him. I love him so much. So I had to mention him. There's one other character I want to mention, but before I do that, because I know that somebody that we're bringing in right now, I am so happy. Meg is joining us. Meg!
Hi!
I was like, Meg's not going to be joining us. I was summoning you in my mind earlier.
Okay, so here's what happened. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come in because I'm sure some folks know our camper basically got totaled. And so today I was like, oh, we're going to try and find a camper, and we don't know what that situation is going to be. So we found a camper and we bought it, and yay, and everything like that. And I have been celebrating since 2.
Whoa. You seem a lot more together for celebrating since 2.
So we've been celebrating since 2, and I'm still celebrating because
and what
we're going to have a camper that works.
That's awesome.
And won't burn down with us inside. Anyways, hi, I'm so excited to show up.
I know.
Like,
and
I dragged my kids out of the pool at my parents' house. They were literally swimming at my parents' house 10 minutes ago, and I was like, get out.
We've got to tell everybody that you're here because probably people went, I thought Meg was going to be here. I'm not going to.
Meg's not there. Forget it. I'm out of here.
Well, I'm really glad you joined because we already mentioned Love, Simon. And I was like, I was so excited because Meg, that doesn't mean you can't talk about it because I'm going to let you talk about Love, Simon. And then we'll go back to where we were.
Like, I don't want to be super repetitive about it or anything. I absolutely love that movie. I read Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda for a book club I was in before Love, Simon ever came out. And I thought, God, it was so wonderful to have a young adult book that's a little bit of a YA romance to it that had a lot of the kind of stress and anxiety of just being a teenager. And you just kind of threw in, okay, well, he's also gay. And that's just part of his stress and anxiety of being a teenager and kind of the worries and fears of talking to your parents about who you are when you're that age, not coming out because you feel like your parents are going to hate you or anything like that. And he makes it very specific and very clear in the book and in the show. He's like, I know my parents will not be like upset or disappointed, but it's going to change there's going to be a shift in our relationship. And I feel like that's something that's super relatable for everybody. I am like the cishet white girl, but there were certain things talking to my parents about. I really felt like, okay, once the words come out, it's going to be a shift. It's going to change something. And being scared of that, even knowing that my parents weren't going to like shut me out or anything for it. And I love that. I love that it was framed in a very typical kind of stress that teenagers have. I think the movie did a really good job of adapting it. The movie's a bit different from the books. I loved the scene with his mom who said, who's just like, you get to breathe. Like, finally, you get to breathe. And I even loved even more the scene in the movie with his dad, because you initially think when his dad like gets up and walks away that his dad's upset or disappointed. And he comes back and he's like, I can't believe you've been living with this by yourself for so long. And I'm making thoughtless comments and I'm hurting you and not knowing. And I thought that was a really beautiful thing. And anyways, that's all. I just wanted to say hi. I wanted to say hi to you guys. I'm so excited. I don't want to be like, come in and take over and be like,
no, you said stuff that we didn't say. So,
oh, yay. Well, that's good.
Except, we did talk about how it has the best Ferris wheel scene.
Oh my God.
Which we didn't want to spoil it, but yeah.
Oh,
we didn't say with whom. So that's still.
Well, I spoiled it. I'm sorry. The movie's been out for a while. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry.
And we're because this was the movie that won our poll about what we should mention. And also we had, before I even did the poll, we had a new listener who's a new listener to the show who listened to our George Michael episode, another episode, and said, please talk about Love, Simon at some point and Love, Victor. So we're going to do that next year. We're going to talk about both. We're going to talk about Love, Simon and then Love, Victor. So we'll do that the same week. So have you watched Love, Victor, Meg?
I've seen the first season. I haven't had a chance to watch the second season yet because I've been in, like I told you, my camper almost burnt down to the ground. I've been dealing with that. So I have not been able to invest in a show that I don't know everything about. So I've been doing some rewatches to help with some anxiety stuff with that. But I'm really, really excited about Love, Victor season 2 because I enjoyed the first season. I thought it was a really interesting difference because at first I thought that, okay, so we have Love, Simon, and Love, Victor is going to basically be like the same story. But it's not. Mm-hmm. It tackles different challenges. And it tackles one where Victor's family is not necessarily as open to the fact that he's gay. Yeah. It's not, so I think that's really interesting to kind of see how that goes. And it's a weird dichotomy in the show. It seems like from what I've seen that his dad's not going to have an issue. His mom is a little bit more like closed off to it, but I haven't seen season 2.
I won't say.
So I don't know, but I really liked it. And I thought it was really cute. I liked the little incorporations of having Simon, like in the first season, having them like Victor being really resentful of Simon having like this great love story in high school. And he's like, what the hell are we supposed to do here in high school after you have this like literal epic YA novel romance? And I'm just sitting here just trying to live my life as a little gay boy. And not have that. And I thought it was really cute. Also, hello, my wife, Carla. I love you. Hi.
And that listener's name is Sean. So I wanted to make sure I said hi, Sean. So
I noticed I came on and people stopped talking.
Well, they haven't been
everybody's just transfixed.
Yeah, they're just transfixed.
With what you're saying.
They've been waiting for you.
I see love and glory to Meg, and I'm like, well, thank you.
Yeah, that was when we thought you might not be coming on, and I was like, well, that's the surprise guest that was supposed to come on, but it looks like, and the second season of Love, Victor ends in a cliffhanger, so if they do not do it for a third season, I'm going to be so pissed.
Oh, I wish you hadn't told me that, because I'm just like, oh, shit. Because Carl and I are going through this. She wants me to watch happy endings, and I've been watching it, but I know that it ends on like an unresolved note. And I have a really, really hard time with that, with books or shows. Like I've read the first Game of Thrones book. I have not read any of the other ones because I genuinely believe George R.R. Martin is going to die before he finishes them. And imagine spending all this time reading these books and then he dies, so you don't have a conclusion. Like, I don't even care if it's a bad ending. I just want an ending.
Yeah, and that's why I'm hoping. And I was trying to see if it had been renewed yet. So I guess I shouldn't have told you that. But
God damn it!
But if you do watch it, I want you to, because I don't want to say. I want you to message me and tell me what you think should happen. How the cliffhanger should be resolved. But I thought it was really good. I watched it in like 2 days. I've been like binging that because I wanted to make sure to watch Love, Victor, because I love Simon. So yeah. So I've really
enjoyed Love, Victor. I think it was a very interesting, different take on the story, and I like what they're doing with it. But again, I haven't seen the second season yet, so I might be talking out of my ass.
Well, no, I think the second season's better than the first season, personally. So that's just my personal opinion. So.
Hi, Panda.
So yes. So okay. So
Panda queer as fuck.
Queer. I'm like, we were doing so well on this.
I'm so sorry. Every time I see queer as folk, all I can think of is like, but I've been talking about how so much of my life apparently refers back to The Office for me now. Like we were listening to American Pie on the drive because the camper I bought is an hour and a half away from where we live. So that was part of what was taking me so long all day. But we were listening, American Pie came on and it reminded me, I was like, God, this reminds me of that scene in The Office where like the chair girl dies and they're like singing American Pie and getting really like into it at a graveyard. Anyway, the queerest folk always reminds me of that scene where after Michael outs Oscar and he's like, I'm down with the gays. I watch Queer as bleep. And that's it. That's all it is.
Well, there is
You
a
got-
lot of that in there.
You have one F-bomb from me, I guess. Anyways,
One.
hi, Panda. So far.
We did talk about, you missed the best joke I have made. I'm just gonna keep playing it until it doesn't, is because I announced that our first Queer as Folk episode is now our most popular episode that we listen to the most. I'm so happy about it. It has
I'm
defeated
so
Lucifer.
sad.
I'm so happy.
Not on it.
I know.
Let her tell her
neither
joke,
one of you
Meg.
are. Neither one of you are on it. But what I said was Brian Kinney would be so happy to know that he topped Lucifer.
I love that Carla's like, let her talk, Megan, as if she's never met me in my entire life.
It's because I have met you in your entire life that I say it.
I've also been spending the entire afternoon with my family, and we are all like this. So it's just been a lot of over talking. But yeah, you guys talked about Love, Simon, and you talked
We
about
talked about movies. We were
Queer as Farts.
Queer as Farts.
Queer as Folk. I'm sorry. I don't mean to disrespect. I just am trying
We need
really
to
hard.
watch it at some point.
No, I'm just trying really, really hard to not drop the F-bomb again, because every time I see it,
Meg, I
that's it.
desperately want you to watch it so that you can tell me how you feel about Brian. Because I need to. I need somebody in my corner.
I don't want to watch it because I don't want to get in the middle of this. whatever
But
this
remember, no matter what, and we had a lot of people vote on it, no matter what, our audience agrees that they love Brian. So no matter
you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch Freaks and Geeks, and I'm just going to be happy.
which we are going to be doing a special bonus episode on Freaks and Geeks coming soon. That'll be only for subscribers.
Ooh, look at me playing right into your plug.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Unplanned.
You've made Panda laugh, probably at the Queer as F
Yay!
word.
I made someone laugh.
It's so rare. Just kidding.
I mean,
Just kidding.
even
Even though
few
she
beers
hasn't.
in.
Yeah. Oh, see there, drink mention. That's also on our
I thought that would
bingo card.
happen with the bingo card when I was just like, I've been celebrating all
but you
afternoon.
didn't say a drink,
Oh.
so it didn't really
Oh,
Didn't
I
count.
see.
Yeah. But before we go on, I just wanted to mention one last character, and I know that Meg watched this show as well. I want to mention David from 6 Feet Under, because Michael C. Hall, I love you, Michael C. Hall. Mouth breathing and all. I love you so much, Michael C. Hall. This is my rhyme to you.
Does that count as a song? Or is it just
No.
a poem?
It does not. I
Michael
love
C.
6 Feet
Hall,
Under. I
Michael C.
maintain they
Hall,
have one of the
I
best
love
series
you,
finale
Mouth
ever.
breathing and all.
I mean, now it's a
just like
song.
a
Now
show
it's a song.
tune.
Now it
Carla's
counts.
saying, so someone's saying, so now that can also be on the bingo card, which Bailey left, but she probably has bingo by now, I would assume. I'll look at her card because she sent it to me and let her know if she has
Aw,
bingo.
Bailey
And maybe
left.
Panda, maybe you have bingo. I don't know if you're playing, but maybe you have bingo. But yeah, David, oh man. David went on one of the best character journeys I have ever seen on this show. His character growth was so incredible and amazing. And Michael C. Hall was so flippin' brilliant in this show. I mean, he's brilliant in everything, but he was so good in this show.
I
And
think
I just love David. He's just,
I think it's really important when you talk about, like, 6 Feet Under came out a while ago, when LGBTQ representation was always kind of a joke. It was always the butt of jokes. They never, like, the community never really got good, complex representation for a long, long time. Like, even shows that were full of LGBTQ people, it was always kind of like the flamboyant one was always very much the joke. You know, they always had to have a flamboyant person on there to be the butt, but he was such a deep and intricate, full character, and he was never played for the joke, and I thought that was so important. On a drama, because 6 Feet Under is a dramedy, and he wasn't ever, like, he was used a little bit as butts of jokes, but never because of his homosexuality. It was just because he was kind of a stuck-up prick.
yeah, for being anal. That's what
No.
No pun intended. I'm sorry. I thought maybe that's why you were doing that.
No, he was a bit of a stuck-up prick.
He was.
For a
different
lot
from
of it.
Dexter. Very different.
Yes. But he did such a good job in that and that episode where he gets held up.
Mm.
Oh my God. Like that's one of the shows I have not rewatched very many times, but I watched it and it was so good because it ended so beautifully. And I tend to find that when shows end really, really well, I don't rewatch them because I'm like, this is a wonderful, complete story. But that episode when he gets held up is just like, it's like,
yeah,
it's so good.
And that was what I was alluding to when we talked about Queer as Folk in our last Queer as Folk episode, when I talked about that there was a moment in 6 Feet Under that happens to David that changes him a lot. And I think that's one of the many moments. And I just, that show was on at the same time as as Queer as Folk. So I would watch Queer as Folk. They were on the same night. So I would watch, I think 6 Feet Under came on first, and then I'd watch Queer as Folk. Different networks, but same time.
Well, you had to have
And
HBO for 6 Feet Under. You had to have the money.
And then Showtime for Queer as Folks.
Yeah. Oh, see, you had to have big dollars.
And they both ended they both ended the same year. So they both ended at the same time. So just imagine me, my two favorite shows at that time, and Queer as Folk remains my all-time favorite show, are ending at the same time. And I won't say, because I don't know if Carla's ever watched 6 Feet Under. Do you ever plan on watching 6 Feet Under? Okay.
So,
and I won't say, but something happens a few episodes before the finale. And I just remember that episode just breaking my heart. But yeah, David is just one of my favorite characters, period. One of my favorite character growth arcs, because he wasn't my favorite character when I started watching that show, but he became my favorite character.
He does grow so much. And I think that's what's so great. Yeah. It's great about that 6 Feet Under is that they all have a lot of growth. David probably the most, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
It really kind of became his story in his show. Because Peter Krause's not so much, but David was probably the and I can't remember her name off the top of my head because believe it or not, I did not prepare at all for this.
That's okay. This is kind of just a random.
The younger sister in that show, I feel like she also had this beautiful arc, and it remains one of my favorite series finales, I think, ever. And
we're going to be covering that show next year. It's already on my schedule.
I think I'm on the list. I think I told you have to let me on it.
I already know you love that show. Like I love that show. So don't worry. You will be on that one. You will be on that episode.
It'll give me an excuse to rewatch.
And then anytime I can talk about Michael C. Hall.
Why do you like him?
I love Michael C. Hall. I'm so excited for Dexter. Can we please get a real trailer for Dexter though?
His next movie his next show, he's gonna play an IRS agent who's like deep undercover.
Like, and Meg can add his picture to her wall of
deep undercover investigating the Rose family.
Sexy accountants
after they've rebuilt their wealth.
And then he'll fall in love with who will he fall in love with?
I mean, we can have this weird thing where maybe he can fall in love with David, but David's like, "Excuse me, I'm a happily married man," and Patrick is like, "Ooh, I'm a thumb." I love Patrick so much. That was the meanest thing I've ever said about Patrick, was calling him a thumb.
Well, we got an accountant for the bingo card, so. Which is a new one we added. If you've listened to, our new Schitt's Creek episode, which there was so much sexy accountant talk that I did cut out, but
I'm offended.
I left a lot of it in, though. There's a lot.
I mean, we spent about 25 minutes, I think, just talking.
I think more than that.
Just riffing
about sexy accountants.
Just riffing about sexy accountants.
That's the last thing I ever expected us to talk about.
Meg and her thirst for
and
hot
my
IRS
thirst for
agents.
hot IRS agents, because they are doing the Lord's work and taking care of all of us, so they don't audit me. That's all. Like,
They're superheroes. Remember,
They
Carla,
are
you created the
superheroes.
Right.
not all superheroes wear capes. Some of them have calculators.
Oh man.
Oh,
We've got. I don't even remember where we were.
I'm so happy I made it. I started. Well, I saw what time it was. It was like 7:30, and I was like, I gotta get my kids home because I wanted to come in and talk with you guys because I was really excited. Because I won't be on again for a while.
I know. No. Go watch Scare Me and be on with us.
Yes, it's not that scary.
Honestly, you can
It's
handle
not.
it, Meg. You can handle it. Yes, you can. I promise you can handle Scare Me. It's not to say that there aren't scary moments. I don't want to offend. But it's more funny than anything. Go on.
Okay. Like leave right now.
No.
No.
After we're done here, then
Like,
you go
sign
watch Scare
out.
Me.
Stop talking to us. Go watch.
You have
Scare
a whole
Me.
week, Meg. You can squeeze it in somewhere between
Yes.
now
No,
and next
'cause
Saturday.
I'm going camping.
Oh,
you
that's
are?
right.
Yeah, that's
When are you going
I'm-
camping? For Father's Day?
Father's
I
Day's
keep
Mother's
tomorrow.
Day's tomorrow.
I know, but no. Doesn't mean
No,
you can't leave for
we're leaving to go camping. So we're picking up our new camper on Wednesday,
Okay.
which is right actually by the campsite the campground we're going to. So we're picking it up, taking like 3 hours out of our day to pick this up. And then we're picking up on Wednesday. We're going camping on Friday.
Okay.
And coming home on Sunday. And then I have to edit the Bedwed Behead podcast in there somewhere.
Well, but you have a
luck.
few more days after that to watch it. So just Meg is going to be joining us next Saturday.
Next Saturday, I'm going to be camping.
Oh, you're going to be camping then. Okay, now I get it. Sorry. Well, just go find a place with some Wi-Fi.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, we can't go on this hike. I
Well,
have to pause
Tell you
for
what,
4
tell you
hours.
what, Meg. Whether or not you can make it, you still have to watch Scare Me.
Yes,
so
you do. Yes.
I
And
don't have
everybody
Shudder.
talk
I'm
to
sure
me
that's
after the
easy enough to solve.
I shouldn't say that because I love
If
you,
only
Shannon.
there was an affiliate link.
Yeah, if only they worked with us in some form.
Right? Okay. So what else have you guys talked about
So
for
we've already
your
talked about
mishmash
movies.
pride?
We've already talked about movies.
Okay.
So do you have any?
Did we
you wanna
talk about the
mention?
birdcage?
No. Well, yes, I did mention
Oh my
it more in a
God.
joke way than in an actual series. I mentioned it when I mentioned it to another movie where they sat there and had a argument about In and Out, and then they said, "Well,
Okay.
I'm not even going to mention the birdcage." So go ahead and mention the birdcage.
I don't feel like I should. All I will say is
don't
Hank
feel like I
Azaria cleaning the pool in dress shoes with no socks is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's all I'll say about the Burke. I honestly love that movie. There's
I do
lots of
too.
problems with it. There's lots of problems with it, but we always. I feel like, especially now, today, knowing everything that we know and greater education, watching stuff from 20, 25 years ago, taking it into the context, and the Birdcage actually was kind of groundbreaking because you had very big names playing gay characters.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I love that movie purely because it's funny and it has a lot of heart to it. And anytime I think about them, like, oh, these boys are playing leapfrog, like in their dishes, I love it, and I love Robin Williams, and that's all I'm gonna say about the Birdcage. It's been a favorite of mine for many, many years, and I know it's got problems, but so much media does.
I still like it. I watched it not too long ago, and I still laughed and found it funny. And
I thought it was. I watched it fairly recently, and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. But I think I think what's so important when we watch movies or read books a lot of times is to acknowledge the context and the time in which they were written. And it's something, and I know I've mentioned it a ton here on the podcast and on Carl and I's podcast, where you say, like, just accepted during the time doesn't necessarily mean it was acceptable. It's just we have to kind of view things through that lens a little bit too. Because there's problematic shit with it, but I love it, and I just love Robin Williams, and that's all. And I'm sad that I will never get to watch new Robin Williams stuff. Now I'm gonna get really sad. Just kidding. I came on here to bring the mood down.
This is the sad point of the show. We're all gonna cry now in unison. Come on, Carla, let's all cry in unison. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, my tear ducts. My tear ducts are so hard.
I did not prepare clearly at all because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come on. So I made no preparations. I know that you guys did
prepared a lot.
You did a whole episode about Brokeback Mountain.
Did.
We did do a whole
episode, which was such an amazing movie, and I still get kind of angry that it was kind of made a joke of.
Yeah.
But I do think kids like my daughter's age, she's 12, don't understand what a huge thing it was to have, like, because cowboys are like the epitome of manly maleness. Manly masculinity, manness. Mm-hmm. And to have two actors, and this was a huge budget movie, and to have this like whole thing, and it was actually promoted and put out there for everybody. It was not like this little indie film that you saw at Tribeca or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was out everywhere, and it was heavily promoted. And to have these very manly, masculine men, because you never doubt at any point in this movie that these are man's men.
Yes.
You know, there is no like effeminate stereotype anything between these guys. And to have them fall in love and like a beautiful, heartbreaking, crushing love story, and to have it become a joke, just it hurt in a lot of ways, because I think that was a movie I think that meant so much to so many people, and then to have it be made fun of, mm-hmm. I think was so messed up, because I don't know.
Yeah, we talked about that when we did the episode. We talked a little bit about that, about how sad that is. And
I'm so behind on my podcast. I'm going back to The Office, though, so I'm actually going to be able to, I'm going to have so much time to listen.
Going back to The Office, not the show The Office. You're going back to an office.
I disapprove.
I know. I decided what day I'm going in, though, and it seems very counterintuitive, but I'm happy with my choice. I'm going to go Friday.
So you're going back just one day a week?
I was doing one day a week before it was cool.
Well, I've been working from home way longer before it was cool. What the heck?
No, I've been working from home for 7 years. Almost 8 years now I've been working from home.
Yeah, since 2013 for me too.
Yeah, and only going in, I'd have to go into the office one day a week. And that's strictly because we need to print stuff and we have to be there for that. And 5 days a week, then you get in the whole disability thing. But I chose Friday because I was talking to my sister and my dad, and like, you always take Fridays off anyway. So if you're taking a Friday off, may as well take a day off so you don't have to go into the office. I'm like, that makes sense. Like, if you take a Friday off and you're at home already, what does that matter? And I don't have to deal with coworkers.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to go into the office on Friday.
There you go. Well, Panda, if you are still with us, or anyone else who's watching, let us know in the comments if we haven't already mentioned it, or you might have come in, we already did, but any LGBTQIA plus movies, characters, television shows, books that you want us to mention, that you want to give a shout out to, please put those in the comments, because also I'm always looking for things. There are a ton that I have not mentioned because I kind of was if I mentioned all of them, I'd be here forever. And I do want to mention, though, really quickly, But I'm a Cheerleader. And the reason I'm mentioning But I'm a Cheerleader, you can still vote right now in the live, but also we are right now, it's between us. We've the Queer Q has been doing this whole bracket, and it's between us and we have But I'm a Cheerleader and Edge of 17. So those are the two competing for the top prize. I cannot believe But I'm a Cheerleader made it this far. Our last one before we got to the finals was we were up against Brokeback Mountain, and I'm like, oh, that's it. We're going to be taken out. And we beat Brokeback Mountain. But I'm a Cheerleader beat Brokeback Mountain. So, which I was really surprised about. So go to our Twitter page. You will see a retweet there. Or better yet, go to the Queer Q. Let me get their direct handle and vote. You have until, I believe there's about 2 more days left. But it's Queer Q is their handle at Queer Q. So go there and vote in that. Vote for But I'm a Cheerleader. I'm not saying Edge of 17 is a bad movie. I'm just saying I want to win.
I want to win. I just want to win, guys. That's all I want.
But I'm a Cheerleader is a really good movie. We were going to cover that this month. I had put it on the schedule really early on, and not a single person signed up. So I changed it. Meg looks like I would have signed up.
I love that movie. I just haven't seen it in so long.
But so we will probably cover that at some point, especially seeing as how that has beat out so many movies through this thing has been going on for, I don't remember when they started this, but it's been going on for a while. And honestly,
our podcast got knocked out, Carla.
What did you have?
What was ours?
We had fresa chocolate.
Oh, okay.
That's why.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's a Cuban movie that we talked about earlier.
Okay. Yeah, the one that you
I'll send you the
earlier.
YouTube link so you can watch it, Meg. It doesn't have subtitles. Do your best.
Get no subtitles. I knew Spanish at one point, so it'll work. My dad actually was just talking to me about, because we were talking about tequila. And my dad was talking to me about how he had like this amazing tequila. It's like $180 a bottle for it. And it's Clase Azul or something like that. It's like this, it's got this pretty fancy bottle and everything like that. And he was talking about how much he loved it. And I was like, yeah, that's the second best tequila I've ever had. And he was like, what was the first? And I was like, well, my aunt grew up in Mexico, and her family still lived there until her parents passed away. And they had a house tequila that they made that was just amazing. And it was their recipe and everything like that. And that was probably the best tequila I'd ever had. And my dad was like, well, I never had that. And I was just like, well, that's why I said it was the second best tequila that I'd ever had. Not the same. And that's all. That's my life arguing with my dad about tequila. So he was like, I think I'm going to go buy it. And I'm like, that's fine. Go to Total Wine and go buy your super expensive tequila to bring to Nashville for the bachelorette party that you're barely invited to, but you're still going because you're going to buy. And I let my dad buy. Always.
Meg's got a super awesome bachelorette party coming up.
Yeah, my cousin's getting married. Well, she was supposed to get, her wedding was supposed to be last year, and they pushed it back. So I'm going to Nashville in like 2 weeks.
Wow, man. You know, it really makes me sad.
Really testing this vaccine.
It makes me sad, though, sitting here knowing, I mean, I'm so glad, Carla, that you're going to be on next week. I'm so glad that I put that episode on there because...
Oh, did you find something to make Carla come?
Scare me. Which is what...
Yes.
Scare me episode. I know, it's like, what's Erin gonna do? Carla's gone till the end of August.
And it's no offense to all my other panelists, because I love you all. I'm not trying to say that I don't love my other panelists.
Carla's your co-host. She's all over it.
It'll be so weird not to have Carla, and it'll be so weird not to have you two, Meg. Meg returns sooner than Carla does, though. You return in July, correct?
If Erin remembers.
If I remember you exist. That's
If she remembers to add me to the group chat, I'll be there. Otherwise, it's gonna be like the weekend after my birthday, giving up like birthday party time to hang out. I'm like, I don't know what Aaron is saying. I don't know.
Wow, you just made it extra. Like,
I know.
you
Yeah.
added a layer of guilt onto that cake
Just-
there.
I know,
Just
man.
paint it on there. Like,
Should we have a birthday celebration for you?
considering what these topics are, I'm like, you have to really give me some material to make sure, because it's adaptations. I'm like, son of a bitch, I'm gonna have to really like.
Aren't you the only one on that one? Or is it
I
there's
am the-
one that you're the
no.
only one?
No, Paula's there now.
Oh, you added Carla. That's right.
No, Paula.
Oh,
I
Paula.
I jokingly added Carla, and I think she deleted herself. But yeah, your episode book adaptations that are better than the original. I was the only one on there for a long time, and I was like, shit, if it's just me, I'm really gonna have to start preparing. But speaking of books, I just finished reading a really good LGBTQ book called Perfect on Paper.
That was going to be my
And-
next. It's a good lead into the next one that I was going to ask. We'll start with you, Meg, since you're already talking.
Yeah.
Then we'll go to you, Carla.
Well, you know, I was like, Carla's been talking probably nonstop for the past hour.
Carla's
I
been
better get
silent
in there.
with us, like,
Oh
No.
my god!
No,
You mean
saying,
the past hour since you joined and you've been talking? I've been
No.
saying nothing. Just
No.
pointing that
That
out.
is what I'm saying. Is I was like, when I came on, when I decided to join the pod, the live, I was like, Carla's been there for 40 minutes, probably just talking by herself with Aaron. Be
I'm
like,
here.
yeah, Aaron. Be like, yeah.
I've been making great jokes about Brian.
Making great jokes about Brian. Yes.
And Tom Ellis guest starring on
So
Super Bowl.
I had to hop on to give Carla a rate
Yes,
for her
thank you for
vocal
letting me rest
cords.
my voice. Hear the true hero tonight.
Have I told you guys I've been celebrating all day, so I already hopped on here.
You?
Feeling real good.
Okay. So what's this book you were talking about?
Okay. No, I just finished a book called Perfect on Paper. And I have 2 kids, so it's really hard for me to actually like fucking read if I'm
Number 2.
I've been here an
Surprising
hour.
Absolutely nobody.
Well, it's hard
I've been-
because on the regular ones, I'm like, go ahead, curse away.
And I'm just incapable of not swearing. Like I can't do it. I have tried. Like I have family who have like younger, like 5-year-old children, and I try and I fail, and I'm just like, I am so sorry. And I talk to them. I'm like, you might hear me say words, like to the children. I was like, you're gonna hear me say words. You should not say them. I'm sorry. Like I told my kids they're 18-year-old words.
That's what I tell my son. Like, okay, this is grown-up language. When you're a grown-up, you can use it.
And then she says heck.
Yeah, well, I have a husband,
I know.
and his mouth is decidedly filthier. Although he's
But-
been pretty good. Anyway,
But
so your book.
I did tell my children. I did tell my children, like for a while. I was like, this is a 5-foot book, but now both my children are, or a 5-foot word. Both my children are over 5 feet tall now, and I'm like, thank you, Panda. Thank you. Someone appreciates my. My ability to use the F word is extensive and very, very versatile, and I try to hone it in for the lives. But otherwise, it would be like it's like a comma for the most
like
part for me.
Mama.
But anyway, so the book I just finished reading is called Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez, and it's a YA romance and everything like that. But it's about a bisexual girl who is in love with her best friend, and she also runs like this dating advice business basically out of a secret locker in her school. And this guy finds out that she's the one running it and kind of sort of blackmails her slash also pays her to help him get his ex-girlfriend back. It's an enemies to lovers love triangle thing, and it's really, really good. And it's actually been dealing with a lot of biphobia from people. It talks about biphobia in the book, and it's been dealing with some biphobia stuff in its reviews, because a lot of people seem to think that, or from what I've been seeing in the reviews, is like, can you really be a bisexual main character if you wind up in a same or in an opposite gender relationship? And it's really interesting to see how the reviews are kind of amplifying the questions that are brought up in the book, and kind of being like, you can't be bisexual if you're in a relationship with someone of the opposite gender. And it's really interesting and horrifying to see that, but it's addressed in the book, and it's really, really well done, and it's funny. She's a giant dork. It's a really inclusive book. There is a whole spectrum of LGBTQ plus characters in the book, which is great. And I just finished reading it, I think 2 days ago. And I read it in I started reading it one afternoon, and I finished reading it the next afternoon because I had to sleep and work. But it was really good. I really liked it. If you're into YA books, because I really am, which is, real cool. I'm a young adult.
Yeah, you're only 21, right? We're all only 21.
I'm basically a teen mom. But yes. I think it does such a good job addressing biphobia in that very specific context, because in the book they're like, well, if you're in a same-sex or in a different sex relationship, are you actually bisexual? Can you really get, you can pass for heterosexual because you're in a relationship with someone of the opposite gender? Or if you're in a relationship with someone of the same gender, are you actually bisexual, or are you just on the train tracks heading to be gay? Are
you just confused and making a layover?
Yeah. Or you're just a big hoe who can't make up their mind.
Right.
And that phobia is in the LGBTQIA community as well.
Right. Yeah. And it's actually addressed
and the erasure.
From it's addressed from both and from straight people in the book as well as gay people in the book, and kind of talking about that and how you're still valid, you're still queer, and your identity is still valid regardless of what your relationship status is. If you're in a relationship with someone from opposite or same gender, or if you're not in a relationship with anybody, you're still you. And it's not like you can turn one part of you off because of the relationship you're in. And I think it did a really good job kind of handling that. And as a YA book, it did a good job handling it in a way where I would not say kids my daughter's age, but maybe later in middle school would be reading it and stuff like that, because it gets a little bit sexier than I want my 12-year-old to read. But I was fine with it.
I was fine with it.
But that's the one I just finished reading. But I've read a few and I like them.
Oh. And Carla, do you have any books?
Okay, so I haven't been reading much the last few years. It's been a trying time for me too. Well, yeah, other than fanfic, and we've already
There's
discussed
another bingo
whiskey,
thing. So
I'm just here to fill out bingo cards, guys.
Yes, good job. But we've already discussed 91 Whiskey, which is the one book that I've read and reread in this time. But there are so this book, The Poppy Wars, it's a great book. It's very, very it has a lot of triggers, a lot. So it may not be for everybody, but they do have a character, and this is one of those things where there's an allusion to him being not straight, but it's not you really have to dig for that representation. So it's really, it really bothered me that it's like it's there, you can see it, like just cross that finish line, author, just you can do it. And then they didn't quite do it, although there is still like oh yeah, of course he is. Well, then maybe say it. Um, but on the whole, it's a great book. But a book that I actually like ordered and haven't gotten yet that I'm very excited about and I'm very much looking forward to reading is Hola Papi by JP Brammer. JP Brammer is he's on Twitter and he's awesome on Twitter. He's an advice columnist and an essayist, and his writing is fantastic. So this is a collection of essays and stories, and I'm very excited to read it because he's like me, he's also of Mexican descent, and but he's from Oklahoma, so like his story is very very different from mine. Um, but I've been reading his column for years, and I love, first of all, I love his writing because he finds a way to be humorous, and he relates really well to the people who are writing in. He's very kind, um, very reassuring, very he makes you feel like there's somebody out there who cares and who doesn't want you to feel alone. And I love that about him. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this book because it just, I want to hear more about him and about his journey, and read more of his stuff. He's just such a gifted writer. I'm so glad that he has a book out now and that it's being so well received because he really deserves it.
Nice.
Nice.
I have more books too.
Oh, you
So.
do? Okay, good. Because I don't really have any books to mention.
I have more.
I failed in this part. I'm sorry. Except for fanfic would be the only thing I would mention. So,
No,
but
like for me these days, just picking up a book and reading it is so hard to do.
yeah, I haven't read a book except for I read a book for an interview I did, but I haven't. Other than that, I haven't been reading books.
Yeah.
So Meg, go for your books.
Okay, well, I'm gonna bust out here. Boyfriend material is a fun one. If you're looking for another enemy, like, okay, I'm a sucker for enemies to lovers. Literally, like, give me any story where they hate each other in the beginning and they
Watch All Over the Guy, which I already mentioned. Watch All Over the Guy.
I think I've seen it actually.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind.
It sounds familiar. I'll watch it again, always. But so Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall is the same kind of thing. Like the son of a has-been rock star basically hires a boyfriend kind of to get him through, like, it wasn't a wedding or anything like that, but it was just, he was getting bad publicity because he is the son of a washed up rock star, and they're like, "Oh, look at him being a hot mess." So he needed a stable boyfriend. So he hired this guy that he does not like at all, and the guy's like, "Well, you have to come with me to a wedding." Of course. And then like romantic hilarity ensues between the two of them. It's by Alexis Hall. Absolutely read it. I think Carla and I might wind up doing a podcast episode about it with Absent Headstrong Girls. I know they're taking a summer break, but we might hop on there with them at some point. It's really fun. It's a really quick, easy read. I am not gonna lie, I am all about the like breezy, easy reads. I love to read romance novels, and quirky romance novels are the best for me. And I'm really loving being able to find a lot more queer romance novels that are just like, yeah, this is just like, this book reads like fan fiction. So if you like fan fiction, read this book. And also, tying into that is I cannot talk about anything without talking about Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, who it's basically the president's son and the Prince of England, and they hate each other. again, it's another enemies to lover thing, and they have to like do this whole publicity thing, and it's adorable, and I love it, and it's got its own shit to it, but it's fun. And I'm not going to be sitting here recommending like very deep intellectual books, because that's not the headspace I have been in. I have been wanting to read fluff and wanting to read books that make me feel happy and make me feel good. And these are books that do that. So Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. And I'm not be like, these are groundbreaking books or anything like that. They're fun, fluffy, bubblegum for the brain romance books that are queer. And they're really good and they're really funny. And that one also reads like fan fiction. I'm not going to lie. Like reading Boyfriend Material, I was like, I know exactly who Dean is, and I know exactly who Cass is in this book. And the same thing for Red, White, and Royal Blue. Like, and I'm like, I have to stop inserting these characters, because even like straight heterosexual romance books, I'm like, I know who Cass would be in here. And I have to stop. I have to stop doing that, but I can't, because I'm a garbage person. If we also want to look at Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, is itself a fantastic book. Even if you've watched the movie, the book is different and the book hits a little bit different. And that's just a really, really good book. And that is by Becky Albertalli. And she also writes a book called The Upside of Unrequited and Leah on the Offbeat. She actually writes a lot of really good queer YA books. And The Upside of Unrequited is, I can't remember the character's name. I think Lily, like his best friend. It's her story and her discovery of her bisexuality, which is, it's good. So those are the books I have. Like, that's the only thing I came even remotely prepared for with this thing, because I like talking about books, but I never like, every time Aaron's like, what are you into right now for pop culture? I'm like, I'm still reading the same fan fiction that I've been reading for 5 years. Over and over again. So I can't do that. But those are like, those first 3 books I talked about, Boyfriend Material, Red, White, and Royal Blue, and Perfect on Paper, those are all books I've read in the past 6 months that I just thought were really, really good. And they're really fun. And I think so much when we talk about LGBTQ plus stories, we hear about all the anxiety and the stress and the pain and the angst. These books don't have that. It's just, they're already out. They're already like comfortable, and they just get to have the same treatment of romance and foibles and follies that we see in so many heterosexual romance books. And I love that.
Yeah. I'll just mention a fan. I mean, like I said, in our poll for what will make you contribute and be a donor. And like I said, if you are, there might be something really cool with our Halloween trivia event coming up. Plug. All of a sudden, I just pictured the scene in Carrie. Sorry.
You definitely want to plug.
Wow. Okay, that was really not worth it to go there.
Oh my God.
I know, but we will cover we'll cover fanfic. That'll be one of our bonus episodes. And one fanfic that I do actually want to cover at some point is another Destiel fanfic called The Kinks. And the reason I want to cover that one is I think that it was one of the best fanfics about BDSM I've ever read in my life.
So good.
Yeah, I've read it a couple times. So.
Like, honestly, if you want to just do an episode, even live, and then throw in the bonus of just Destiel fanfics, I could sit here and talk for hours about literally, I think, 4 fics.
Okay, more like if you want to do a marathon evening of live streaming that may or may not end.
I can do up to 8 hours, so we can do an 8-hour marathon.
Like, if, I know that you put in here for media or whatever for Pride, so I am gonna plug a couple of my favorites fanfics. for all you young hockey players out there, pay attention by Thursday's Fallen Angel, also known as Lauren from the Sword of Brilliant podcast. That's one of my favorite fiction. She is amazing at characterization. She does such a good job writing Dean. I feel like Dean is so hard for people to write if they don't really identify and understand him. She does a really, really, really good job.
Oh, good night, Panda. Thanks for staying
Oh,
up with
night,
us.
Panda.
Good night.
Thank you in the UK. Thank you so much, Panda. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You're awesome, Panda. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you for appreciating my F-bombs. Someone has to.
Someone has to.
Somebody has to appreciate the work I put into my swearing. But so that is honestly one of my favorite SDL fics. She does, and AU is really, really hard for me because it's so easy when you get into AUs to kind of ignore characterization. And she just does a really good job. And the other one is Hope and Ruin, and I can't think of who wrote it, so I'm gonna look it up.
Do you have any, Carla, you want to do while she's looking?
Yeah, Carla, you want to talk for a minute now that I came on?
I would recommend pretty much anything by Northern Sparrow. That's one of my favorite fanfic writers. I really,
He's amazing.
I really like
Forgotten in Flight is just.
Yeah, but the first one that I read by Northern Sparrow was A Room of One's Own, which is actually a hilarious fic.
So funny.
It's so funny. Yes.
It's
and
so
I wish
hot.
I could remember. Yes. There's one that I wish I could remember. Also, our host has written some excellent fanfic.
In time you'll see.
Huh?
In time you'll see.
Yes. I love it so much. And also, like, this one is not about, because this one doesn't involve shipping Dean and Cass, but the therapy series is just really, really good and really gets into what makes Dean tick and what in what ways he could heal if he had been allowed to in the series. So just putting that out there, like, it's really, really good.
Thank you. That's and I'll put my name on it. It's C Avery, SEAAVERY 1, just the number 1. And that's Dean in Therapy. It's a series that I swear at some point I will finish that. I swear.
It's really good. You do such a good job writing fan fiction.
But what is there, definitely worth reading. Finished or not, it's, you really get to know so much more in depth about Dean than the writers of the show bothered to really flesh out, especially towards the end.
Well, and that's where my whole thing with fanfic. I'm very much into if these characters are themselves, if they make sense, even in AU, and that's why like I said, I have a hard time with AU because so many people are like, oh yeah, they're super easygoing and relaxed and chill. I'm like, they're not. Like, they could be, I guess, if you erase all of their history, but I am reading fan fiction because I want to read about these characters. I don't want to read about people with that name going through stuff that I don't recognize as the characters. But Hope and Ruin is written by Elizabeth 1985. It is a canon divergent fic where it's basically zombies. It's a virus that spreads that creates zombies. And if you like angst and pining and slow builds and everything like that, that is another one of my absolute favorites.
So good.
It's so good. I've read it probably 8 times.
I read that years ago. I don't remember it very well, but I know I read it like years ago. But.
It's so good. I think about like the mixtape that they like. There's a broken bone, so they have to like stay together while everyone else moves on and like protect themselves. And, now I'm gonna reread it. I'm gonna get my Kindle. I'm like, I'm almost done rereading 91 Whiskey again. So now I gotta go back to Hope and Ruin. Never mind the like 400 fiction books I have on my Kindle right now. Let me just circle. I cycle through. So I cycle through, for all you young hockey players out there, pay attention, which is the least angsty of those 3 and the least tension filled of those 3. that one really gets into Dean's head and his psyche and his internalized homophobia and how he deals with it. But I cycle from that to 91 Whiskey to Hope and Ruin back to Furley. Like I just kind of circle around because they're so good. And Northern Sparrow writes amazing fanfic. Anything you read from her is going to be really, really good. There is one AU she wrote that I had to stop because it was too good and I was like too heartbroken. It was a cancer fic or something like that. And I had to stop because it was too much. But it's so good. It was so good. Anyway, I did not come on here to just talk about Destiel fanfiction. I promise.
I know it's become the Destiel.
I came here with all of my books about queer, like all my queer books with us, like all this stuff I wanted to talk about.
It's funny.
We always end up here.
That's great. Well, what I just want to end on is, are there any other characters that you want to give a quick shout out to, Carla, whether they're in movies, books, songs, television, anything, commercials? I don't know why I said
commercials. Those two moms in the Cheerios commercial that got the Westboro Baptist Church all up in arms.
Yes.
Them. Anything that gets the Westboro Baptist Church up in arms. I want to give a shout out to them.
I can't think of that. I can't think of really any specific characters. I do want to shout out a couple of YouTube videos though that I watched that were very informative and that I really appreciated all of the depth and nuance that they went into. One of them is called How Comedies Are Changing LGBT plus Representation, and the account's name is Are They Gay? And the other one is What is Good Queer Representation in 2020? And the account name is Melina Pendulum. And they're not short videos, but they are worth watching because they really the one by Are They Gay talks more about the history of queer representation, queer cinema. It goes back to like the 1920s and to the what is that law or that rule? Oh my god. Okay, but because they mention it, and I wish to God that I could remember what it was called, but it's they also reference a book called Celluloid Closet, which I'm going to be reading soon because it basically talks a lot about all of these things that are dealt with in their video. It's very really thorough. Too, so. Yeah. So if you get a chance to check out those, then I strongly recommend them.
Awesome. Meg, did you have any other ones you want to just shout out? You weren't on here the whole time.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm going to mention, because I've been rewatching Bones, Angela Montenegro is a really beautiful, wonderful bisexual character who it was never made like a thing about her bisexuality. She just had relationships with men and women, and it was just there and a part of it. And I love her so much. And I am saying that because that's what I'm watching right now is Bones. I'm rewatching Bones right now. And that's what kind of popped to the top of my head. And I don't know what else you guys have talked about necessarily. Also, Captain Hope from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite characters just ever at all. But being an openly gay Black police chief in New York City who started his career as an openly gay Black police officer in the 70s. Yes. I love him
so much.
I loved him. I still love him so much. So that's what I got off the very like tippity top of my wine soaked head. Excuse me.
I'm just gonna mention really quickly. There's this movie called Imagine Me and You, which is really good. That's a really good movie. Yeah. So I'll just mention that really quickly. And then I'm just gonna mention really quickly something we haven't mentioned a lot, talked about a lot. and that's a little show called Queer as Folk and a character named Brian Kinney.
What? I'm sorry. I've never heard of that show.
Hang on.
What's it called?
Can you spell his name for me? Because I haven't heard it. I haven't heard of that character. Can you please spell it out for us so that we can Google him?
BrianSeXonNEPSKINNEY.
Queer
Are
as
all of those
fart.
middle parts silent? Like, is it like a German name that's just super long and you only pronounce like 4 of the letters?
Yes.
Queer as fart. Wow. Fun story. So Tom Hanks in Philadelphia just showed up on my Twitter feed.
Tom Hanks showed
in
up
Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, like his Oscar, he won an Oscar for Philadelphia.
Yes, I know that.
Which also a fantastic movie. Don't be a dick. Fantastic movie. That is heartbreaking and groundbreaking at the time because it was in the midst of the AIDS epidemic and where no one gave a shit about all of these people dying. Like, just huge swaths of people in the LGBTQIA plus community dying and no one gave a shit. And I just saw Tom Hanks and his Philadelphia thing for some reason on my Twitter feed as I was scrolling down it. And there's a movie I want to plug because, you know, youngins maybe didn't see it and they should because it's a really good one. Yeah. And it's an interesting. Go ahead.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Of course.
I love Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And then this movie, it's weird to recommend. I kind of am ambivalent about whether I should recommend this or not, but there's this other movie I'm looking at.
Just do it at this point. I'm just throwing shit out there. I'm just throwing shit out there at this point. I'm like, hey, I remember this movie. I like it.
Brian Kinney. I'm sorry. I just keep doing that because
Queer as farts. Does Queer as Folk have a definitive ending? Does it have a good ending?
Yes, it does have a definitive
ending. Then I will watch it.
Carla hasn't watched it. Yes, thank you.
Before I watch
like
happy endings.
I think you'll actually like, and then you can do a Queer as Folk episode, but you can't have Brian on there because I will not behead him. I don't care. You cannot talk to him.
I feel like I can't have Brian on there even without you there because Carla's feelings about Brian have been made very clear. I'm like, I feel like this is way too easy.
That's too easy.
And honestly, Carla's really hard to fight with.
I was fine battling against her.
No, like I'm generally. We record on Thursdays, and by Thursday, I'm just so tired.
You don't have the energy to fight.
I don't have the energy to fight anymore.
Does that explain why you broke my heart?
I broke your heart because I was basically in a fever.
Oh my God.
I still have not forgiven you guys. You should have seen me in the car.
We're not here to talk about this. We're not here to talk about this.
We're talking about it. So I'm sitting here in the car. I'm listening.
I blame Carla.
Okay, and they're doing the Team Free Will episode, and everybody knows Dean Winchester is my favorite character.
You like him?
I relate to him so much. Yes, I kind of somewhat like him. And you can imagine what they did to Dean when I say it broke my heart. I literally was like, you basically could have beheaded me because I relate to Dean. So I was like, okay, so I almost shut off the podcast. I was so upset.
I blame Carla.
Oh
I was like, I almost erased
Carla's like, I'm never gonna live this down. This is her legacy. This is Carla's legacy.
Meg's legacy is not accepting the fact that she was a willing participant in that and that I could take her any day of the week. It's not just a Thursday thing.
Both broke my heart. First Carla did, and then Meg caved in and said, okay, I'm going to agree with you, Carla.
Oh my God.
I swear, Meg, we have this discussion. We can do a rematch and Carla won't do it. And I'm like, because I'm not on my deathbed?
Yes, Meg, that's exactly why. Not because you're just going to be like very stubborn for no good reason about it.
I'm so glad we recorded that before the season finale, the series finale, though, because
Yeah.
I'm just so glad that I didn't know about that
still-
before I appeared on the episode that I was on. That because I would have been like,
I will
Well,
still
we did that on
purpose.
We did that on purpose. We're like, okay, so let's
We
do-
actually did. We did. We
Yeah.
made sure to have you come
let's have
on.
Aaron on first and
before
then
we
do Team
release.
Fuel just in case.
yeah, that was a very heartbreaking personal moment for me.
I'm
I
still
was
not.
literally
I'm still
almost
not over it.
Forget them. They're never
I'm still not over that episode.
I love you both, but I still feel that pain deep in my
There was a
soul.
Well,
qualified love.
here's the thing though, is that's
It's
what
love with an asterisk.
that's the thing
I love
about
you, but
I love you.
however,
But that's the thing with our podcast is we do have characters that we absolutely love that we wind up beheading in our game. And most of the time we play with characters that we absolutely love and we love all of them and have to behead one of them and it hurts. Like it hurts to put their names in there and we try our best to kind of justify why we're doing it. I still
Sam. You had Sam.
my choice was
Sorry,
to
I'm not
behead
listening.
Sam.
Oh, I know. That's why I loved you at first, and then you gave in.
I was so sick.
Oh my god. Okay. So
This has
now that this
nothing
has
to do with
become
our-
Charlotte,
I know,
like,
now that this has become
no.
a giant plug for Bedwetter Behead podcast.
Aren't you so happy that I joined, Carla?
Well, I was.
You know, it was really heartbreaking to behead Freddie on the Horror Hunks episode. You know, I will say, okay, so they were interviewed. They interviewed on Twist My Arm, and they both mentioned the Horror Hunks episode. What did they fail to mention? That I was on that episode.
Wow. Isn't it awesome to be forgotten by someone talking? Aaron deeply forgets that I exist. You weren't.
Aren't you glad you brought that up, Aaron?
Like you weren't there at all. We talk and we have a podcast, and I'm sitting here like looking at you in the face, and you forget that I am here.
It's not that I forget that you're there.
Well, that doesn't make it better. I remember that you're there. I just don't want to hear from you, Meg. Like you're there, but all you're going to talk about is sexy tax accountants and.
I don't even
what else do you have to
So we have segued to the
bitter
Behead plug portion of It's a Fandom Thing and have moved on to the bitter contentious.
I just had to bring it up just to be funny.
I know, and that's why
I almost tweeted.
That's why I had to bring up.
Nice
that's why
forgetting me.
That's why I had to bring up you constantly forgetting that I exist on your podcast.
It's happened once, twice, 10 times.
Twice in one podcast recording.
I almost put that on the bingo card, but then I was like, nah, I'm gonna forget Meg this.
And bless your cow, I listened to the 91 Whiskey episode and I was like, she never got back to me about what I thought about 91 Whiskey. When you edited my first impressions, the first impressions of 91 Whiskey, because you accidentally skipped over me.
I never got back to you?
You got back to me, but you cut it out from the editing.
No way, did I? It must have been some bad sound or something.
This is like being like, it's not a big deal. I wasn't even gonna mention it, but I am gonna mention it. But don't feel bad about it, but just feel bad about it.
I'm just gonna cry. It's fine. I'm just gonna cry. Aren't you so glad you gave me the link to come on this episode?
I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry about it.
Did I seriously edit that out?
Maybe I also may have been drunk.
I think you were just drunk.
Listening to it.
I think she just imagined that she had responded.
I absolutely responded because
in your head though, or outside your head.
We're still live, so I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say.
We're not even talking about the subject anymore.
No.
Back to Brian Kidney.
Back to Queer as F. See, it's just not as fun. It's not as fun as dropping the F-bomb. Like, just let me say it. Let me just say queer as fuck.
Well, you didn't even ask permission. You just said it.
Well,
This is why I forget you, Meg.
Because you don't recognize me without my swearing.
That's
so I should do it more.
Oh my God.
I just okay.
You're about to be accidentally dropped out of the broadcast.
Also, Carla, I love your shirt. It's amazing and it's beautiful.
Thank you. It's a floating billboard.
Wow.
It is a beautiful shirt. Right after she compliments the shirt with my podcast.
Yeah, I was so nice. I'm like, I love your shirt with your the family. And Carla's like, look at my tits. And Aaron's like, let me just mute you, you garbage person.
I love you, Meg. I do love Meg. Everybody who wonders.
I guess I know where we're not stopping when our trip out west.
Hey.
Well, I was telling Marta, I was like, yeah, so we're going out to Colorado. I'm like, we're gonna spend a few days in Colorado, and I was like, it's gonna be awesome. Well, we were talking with Josh in our interview, and it wasn't part of the stuff that was released. But I was like, yeah, just give me Jesse's address. Don't even tell Jesse, and I'll just show up. And he's like, hi. I heard that you like me. We'll be besties. Not really, because that's creepy and scary and wrong. But I was like, just think of it. We could have Aaron and Jesse and Josh and Ricky D from Best Flicks with Ricky D. And Meg!
That'll be, and Carla, you're
you guys,
too, right?
Yeah, Carla's gonna fly out to Denver for the weekend.
It's gonna be so much fun. We'll go to tracks. I'm bringing it back to the LGBTQIA plus. That's a really awesome gay dance club that's been around forever. My mom used to go to it in the 80s, and now I've gone to it, and it's so much fun. So we're gonna.
That makes a lot more sense of the kind of tracks I was thinking about. I'm like, I don't know that I want to go to a racetrack. That's really kind of awful.
Straight white,
racetrack fits me very well.
I didn't even know
it
that.
Matter if you can't dance.
That racetracks were such a big deal out in Denver, but you know, like I guess you learn something new. Just for you and your guests, yes.
I've mentioned racing all the time.
The racetracks in Colorado are really amazing because they have to run up the mountain and then down the mountain over and over again. Just the one mountain in Colorado.
Just the one. Colorado Mountain is what they call it.
Colorado Mountain. That's the mountain you run up and down.
But no, I've decided that when I come out there, I'm like, we'll have to have like this big fun podcasting spiel with all of us together, and it'll be a hot mess. And then Carla, I guess, can zoom in.
No, Carla is going to be here.
I can't believe that Meg is trying to disinvite me from this imaginary thing that we may or may not actually
I'm trying to make you feel all weird. I'm trying to give you such bad FOMO that you come because you want to be there so badly. Because we're all going to be having an amazing time.
We are. We're gonna be. We're gonna be eating Rocky Mountain oysters.
We're gonna be shucking and sucking.
Oh my god!
I didn't swear.
This is gonna happen.
Bar is so low.
Don't say maybe or maybe not. This is actually gonna happen. So
yeah, I will be there. I am going out there.
Yeah, this is
at the end of July next year. I will be there
this year.
Next year. This year's a bit too soon.
The end of August this year.
I don't have a vacation time for that.
The end of October this year.
Aaron just like, you guys gonna be here in 2 weeks, right? I know you have this travel voucher. You have to figure out where to go. Just come move in with me. I'm a pain in the. I'm a terrible house guest.
With me. I don't know if I want you to live with me.
I'm a terrible.
Whoa, let's slow this down a second.
Carla's like, Carla's like, I was in a hotel with her for 4 days. Let's just cut back. This has nothing to do with the entire topic at hand at all.
Nothing we're talking about has anything to do, except for that I mentioned tracks.
You mentioned tracks.
Go to tracks. If you're in Colorado, go to tracks. Tracks is fun. I haven't been there in forever. But
I did not come nearly well prepared enough for this thing. I was just like, if I can make it, I'll be there.
I know.
And then I hopped
We've
on.
gone off the rails. It doesn't matter. We've gone off the rails.
I'm shocked.
which is pretty surprising. So,
I mean, it never happens.
but we are gonna try and wrap things up here. So we'll
Never.
be done in about a half an hour. But
Yeah. This is the Midwest Goodbye a podcast where it's like
Oh
we're
my
gonna
God.
try and wrap stuff up, and then 4 hours later we'll be done.
someday
They
we
call-
really should do one of those
There-
8-hour streams. Just see what
There is. You could do that and just have people come in and out.
exactly.
If
And
you
then by
wanna
the
be
end,
in
I'll
it.
be like, "Why the fuck am I doing? Oh no,
Meg has
Bailey's back.
infected you.
Not me. I didn't say that
Meg's
word.
infected me. Yeah. Bailey's back.
Hi, Bailey.
So Bailey, I'm going to catch you up because you probably get bingo now. So we had
I absolutely think Bailey got bingo.
So we had Pride for the Free Space, Christian Bale, of course, Shudder, horror movie, All of Us Laughing, fanfic, awesome, Queer as Folk, Someone Sang, a Tangent, Netflix, a drink mention, when we talked about sexy accountants. Oh yeah, baby.
Is that it? I feel like there's more.
Well, the other ones we have on here, I don't think we mentioned. I'm not going to read them because
Can we talk? Is there a bingo space for Aaron forgets Megan exists?
no, I told you, I
Not
forgot to
yet.
put that on there.
Keep bringing it up, though.
I'm just a little so. No, I love you so much. I love you so much. I just like to tease you. I wouldn't tease you
Well,
if I.
I give you guys crap for forgetting that I was on the episode. That's one of your favorite episodes. And you didn't even mention that I was on there. I forget.
And that's the whole reason that it came up was because you're like, oh, I noticed you guys didn't mention that I was on the Horror House episode for Twist My Arm. And I was like, you forgot
Oh
that
my
I was
God.
on your podcast that you were in the middle of recording.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
think
my
it's-
face was in front of your face.
I didn't forget you were there. I just
Just tried to
you.
ignore you. I remembered you were there. I just didn't want to hear your thoughts. No, I'm just kidding.
I really am now really tempted to go listen to that 91 whiskey and see where I cut you out because I don't remember.
I could be wrong. I was drunk listening to it, so
I think you're wrong because I don't know.
I could be. I'm not saying that I was
Yeah.
correct in it.
Yeah, we had, and they've left. But we had for a second there, we had a bunch of people watching this, but they've left because they went. This is enough.
Like Meg's not here.
No, now I mean just now. No,
Yeah,
they saw
Meg's
you were
not
here.
here.
You
Meg's
are here.
not here. So they left
my
and then
God.
I showed up.
What? Never mind.
I don't know. I'm drunk. Can I tell you guys I've been celebrating since
Yes.
2:00 this afternoon?
You may have a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think we got any of these other ones. I don't think we mentioned that or that. Oh no, Supernatural. We did get that. So
We always that should be the free space for all of your bingo cards.
well, there's a lot of things on here that could be a free space. I don't know. I'm gonna redo them starting next week. I'm gonna redo them because starting next week we're no longer celebrating Pride. It's not that we won't continue to talk about that stuff. It's just we're done with the Pride month. So
Mhm.
yeah.
My youngest daughter, and I'm kind of bummed because I can't share my screen for you to see. But I feel like I should just send it to you, Aaron, if you want to show it. Because my youngest daughter painted the most like adorable, beautiful, lovely thing.
I think I saw it on Facebook.
All the flags
Yeah, I saw it on
that she
Facebook.
painted, I made me so happy. She's 8, and she was just like,
No, I think that's awesome. So yeah. So yeah, we are gonna try we've been trying to close out for a few
Never!
minutes. Never.
We will not close out. This is the 8-hour one. You just didn't know it was happening. I showed up, and now it's 8 hours. Carla's sitting, she's drinking water. She's trying to be smart and hydrate. And I'm just like,
Botox? Oh no, Botox, not Botox.
Botox Breeze. It has less alcohol.
Low calories and carbs.
Yeah.
Pinot
Yeah.
Grigio. I'm reading
It's
this.
only
We aren't
8%.
sponsored by
It's
them.
only 8% alcohol
I am
Instead
so
of-
excited about your box of wine, Meg, but I do want to go to bed at some point soon.
No, you don't.
Okay, so we're gonna close out.
Stop saying these lies, Carla.
Okay, so we will close out now. I'll just keep
Well,
saying it until it actually happens.
You just keep saying it. I'm actually sending you the picture right now of that. My
Oh,
kid
so you want me
did.
to put that up?
If you want to, it was beautiful. My little
Oh, I
8-year-old
do.
did it.
I'm not getting upset.
How dare you, Aaron?
Okay, so I have to download that photo here. While I'm doing that, I'm trying to get that on
Do
here.
you also want to see her manager, Meg?
Yes, I do.
Yes, thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen.
I came here as the cishet white middle-aged suburban mom and decided I'm just going to take over everything and complain if I don't get my way. I'm just playing through my role.
And you wonder why sometimes I forget who you are. Not who you are, but that you're there. Oh my God, that look on your face. It makes me very sad. So I'm sorry. I take that back. Why is it? So I'm
Will
trying
it make you less sad if we close out?
No.
I think that she
I
really
miss your
wants to.
faces.
Aw, I think she really. Sorry, I'm trying to save this file of your Meg daughter pic. That sounds really weird. Sorry.
Whoa.
Meg. No, that's not how you spell Meg.
I don't care how you see. She doesn't know how to spell my name. It's 3 letters.
That's how much I love you.
It's exactly how it sounds.
Why won't it? It's for some reason it's just not wanting to do this
It's
for
just
me.
Meg, not Meg. You're not in Wisconsin. You don't have to say Bagel. Megan.
My computer even wants me. Oh, that's why. I don't know why. Okay, even my I don't know what's wrong with my computer, but it does not want to pull up this picture and show it. I apologize, everybody.
Bailey wants us to wait till she gets home before we sign out. So we have to
How
stay on
long
here and
is that,
chat.
Bailey?
3 more hours.
I'm Carla, and you can find me at.
Carla's like, I am closing
I will
out.
not be held prisoner here.
Yes, you will, because I miss you. And next weekend,
I miss you too, but damn.
We're not.
You know what else I miss? My bed.
You know what? We're
My
not going to
bed.
all be together till August.
No, oh yeah, not all of us. Like,
Aaron's like, no. Oh, wait, shit. She's right. She is correct.
oh, there we go. Okay. I don't know why it wouldn't. Oh, it won't. Oh, it has to be it's not a JPEG. What you sent
I
me.
don't know what to tell you. I sent the picture that I had. I don't know what to say. It's a PNG probably.
It is,
Anyway,
and it won't upload that. So
well, screw you, StreamYard being a butthead. I forgot the name.
I was waiting for that to finish. I'm like,
I
it is
I
a
forgot.
PNG. What is it talking about? It is a PNG. It says file must be one of those. It must be a PNG. It is a PNG.
People are mean. They make me so sad.
uh,
Here, should I just move my camera? Pick up my webcam and
oh wait, did Bailey say when she's getting home? 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
you
No.
can do it. No, Carl, we can
Good
do
night,
it.
everybody.
No, we
It's been
can
lovely.
do
I'm seriously ready to go though. So I'll close out.
It's just gonna
I'm
be
serious.
me and Aaron yelling at each other.
Yes.
For the next 20 minutes.
And in fact, Meg, you can close up for me. You can do all of the bedwetter or
Carla's
Pod
leaving. She doesn't
social
like
media.
us anymore.
But I'm Carla, and you can find me on Twitter at Carla Temis. Also, my website is carlatemis.com, and that's spelled CarlaTemis.
I was really hoping
Thank
she'd
you,
stay
Carla,
for like 3 more seconds so I can go to the bathroom.
well, you can go to the
You're gonna have to
bathroom,
hold
it'll
it, Meg.
just be-
No, I have to pee so bad.
Bye, Meg. Good night,
I love
everybody.
you.
Good night.
Love
See you
you.
next Saturday.
Yes,
Bye.
ma'am.
Carla's like, I'm done with this nonsense. I do have to pee really, really bad.
Okay, you can go ahead. I'll hold the fort down. I've got a couple of announcements on
I'm the fastest peer in the land. So
okay, I have a couple announcements. Okay, don't worry, it's
Yay.
not just me. Meg's coming back. Okay, but I'm just gonna make a couple of quick announcements while Meg is gone, having a little bathroom break. I'm only saying that because she said it. So I want to just first off, once again, remember we are taking support right now for $2.99 a month. That's a low price. You will get bonus content like our Christian effing Bale episode, shout outs on our live streams, which we already did earlier. And then after 6 months of support, the chance to be on an episode or determine the topic of an episode. Please follow that link. Or you can also go to our page, our podcast page, or any of our show notes, and you can find that link there. So oh, sorry, I got distracted by some of the comments. But anyway, we are going to keep talking, Bailey, for the next 20 minutes. We are going to be on here, so don't worry, we are staying with you, Bailey. So that's the big thing, is supporting the show. And then I'll also talk about what our episode is going to be next. Oh, Meg's back, so I won't. I'll just
I told you I'm the fastest peer in the land.
that was so fast. I'm like, well, I got through one of our little promotions. So,
You can keep going.
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So our other thing is next Saturday, we are going to be discussing the film Scare Me, which once again, you can watch that on Shudder. You can also rent it on pay-per-view. And it's Josh Rubin's film. And as everybody knows, we adore Josh Rubin on this podcast. If you haven't already, please go listen to our Josh Rubin interview, but only listen to it if you've watched Scare Me, because we delve deep into that film and we do spoil some things. But we're doing it to sort of honor the fact that his new movie, Werewolves Within, comes out. So we're just celebrating him by discussing that movie. It will be the live stream. There will be spoilers. Carla will be on that one. So that one is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to talk about that one. Okay, so now I'll just go back to Meg, since we love Bailey. So we're going to stay on for the next 20 minutes arguing about
About nonsense.
About nonsense. I'm like, I don't know what we're even going to talk about all of a sudden.
I had a thing that I wanted to talk about that actually related to Pride, and now I completely and totally lost it, and I'm so sad because it was like this actual like deep thought, and I'm like, oh, this wine
actually related to what we were talking about.
It actually related to Pride. Yeah, I love that I came on here and I'm just like, hey guys, and ruined all of your guys' lovely Pride conversation.
You didn't ruin it. You didn't ruin it. It was great.
With my nonsense.
No, not nonsense.
Well,
so Bailey, I know you've already mentioned one movie way in the beginning, but do you have any movies you want to shout out, or TV shows or characters? I mean, or anybody else watching? Your dog does your dog made a noise. That's another
Smokey Bear.
That's another bingo card.
She won't go
polycules in media. So
okay, so the one kind of throuple or poly relationship that we see really, really, really well represented, and I can't think of the name of it, is I think it's like what is the name of it? It's the guy who created Wonder Woman.
Yeah, we already talked about that one earlier.
God damn it.
No, keep talking about it. Go ahead and talk about it though.
No, I just thought it was really good.
Professor Marston and the Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Mr. Marston and the Wonder Woman. And I thought that was such a brilliant representation of an equal, loving, and caring threesome is not the right word because it's not a sexual connotation. It's they shared a lot. So throuple, I guess, is the best, or a poly relationship. And I think it does a really, really good job of depicting all of the nuances of those relationships. Because so much when you see poly relationships in media, you always see like, well, they could never work because people are like, there's always going to be someone who's super jealous. And three people, like two's company and three's a crowd. And that's kind of how it's always portrayed. In Why Women Kill, which is a show on, not on Peacock, on Paramount Plus that I watched. And one of the storylines involves a poly relationship, and it kind of falls into that trap of a little bit of jealousy between them. So it's a married couple and they decide they have an open marriage and then they decide to add a third into their marriage, and the dynamics and adjustments of that were really interesting to watch. But then when it gets, sorry, my dog is, but then I didn't shut the door enough, and my dog's like, "What are you doing? Can I have a snack?" But then when it gets down to the nitty gritty of everyday living, and when the wife goes off on a business trip, and then she kind of falls into that trap of feeling like her husband's cheating on her with their third. And the show does a really good job of kind of exploring those dynamics and the complications that taking two other people's feelings into account rather than one other person's feelings into account in a committed relationship goes. I mean, one of them winds up being crazy, but it's a TV show.
Yeah. Well, and I think, even though it's not exactly that, but I think when I talked about A Home at the End of the World, that kind of explores a different sort of relationship where you do have a different family dynamic. And I love that movie so much, mainly because I think Colin Farrell is so incredible in it, like I've mentioned already. So that kind of has that dynamic a little bit in there. And I think a lot of times when people think of this, they think automatically about Mormons, and then, I think that's just the automatic thing that people think in their heads, and so they don't.
Oh my God! I shut the door on my dog, and she's losing it.
Your dog has some opinions about this, obviously.
She's literally never ever done this before.
Really?
She has never scratched at this door before, ever. She's very irritated that I shut the door on her.
She wanted to be on. She wanted to be on here. Yeah, but no, I think that's the problem, is that too often people associate it with that, or they associate it with people that just want to get off all the time, and that it's not ever.
Yeah, well, and they see stuff like Big Love, and Big Love is like that kind of, and I feel like that was probably a really actually forgiving kind of view of, as far as the Mormon church goes and their multiple sister wife situation. I feel like Big Love was very, very like, not forgiving, but very kind of pro the Mormon church. And I don't feel like having a poly relationship is something that you should be like, no, we can't do that, and anything like that.
Yeah.
But the Mormon church does it in such a harmful way that anything that kind of promotes what the Mormon church kind of does with marrying children to adult men. But I mean, that being said, I did like that show. But
until it went off the rails.
Until it went off the rails, like so many shows seem to do. But I like that, but we just don't get to see enough of a triad or a polyamorous relationship. I haven't seen Sense8. I heard they did a really, really good job with that kind of stuff. I would love to see more well-written poly relationships on TV and in movies, because I feel like I know several poly people who are in committed relationships within triads and stuff like that. And it's not like these people are like, oh yeah, we're swingers, we go to key parties and we just don't care about who's in our bed or anything like that. I feel like it's always kind of depicted that way, and that's not the actual case. Like, these are people who love each other and are raising families together, and they deserve to have that representation too. So
yeah, no, I agree. Were there any other, Bailey, since or anyone else?
Bailey, what do you want us to talk about?
Did you get bingo, Bailey, by the way? I mean, I can't see how you couldn't have gotten bingo. I mean, I do know
bingo, Bailey. I love it.
I mean, or anyone else get bingo, because you have to have had bingo. Somebody has to have gotten bingo.
I do have to say, I very much appreciate how media now, like, we think about media when we were kids, and how homosexuality or queerness was always kind of the worst thing. It was the worst thing that could happen to you. Like, how could I possibly be gay? I love the fact, so I'm a parent now. And I love that my kids are growing up in a world where not enough, but so much more than when I was growing up. We're seeing representation of gay people, bisexual people, non-binary people, and the just common occurrence of like, so my daughter introduced a friend of hers to us, and she was like, this is my friend. Their pronouns are he, them, or he, they. And just having it kind of be the knee-jerk reaction. And I think that points to the importance of representation in media, because we're seeing it more in our TV shows, in our movies, and just in the news or everyday life. And I think that's amazing. It's so much more than I really ever kind of thought we would see when I was a kid. Like, I remember I was a kid, I was like, oh, Rent. It was like this big thing. Or Glee coming out was like this big groundbreaking moment. And then you actually watch Glee and you realize how toxic and problematic the show is itself. But like, we were taking these tiny little breadcrumbs as kids and teens and trying to find a place for people to fit within it. And now it's like, finally they're starting to open up the whole table. And I love that so much. The stuff about Falcon and the Winter Soldier notwithstanding.
Yeah.
That made me so fucking mad.
But
that one deserved the F-bomb. I'm sorry. That deserves the F-bomb.
It does.
Because
Anthony Mackie is such a piece of trash.
I needed the amplifier for the anger. I felt like, you know what? First off, the reporter, I'm sorry. You do not ask actors about fan ships. You don't do it. Because there's no good answer. There's just not a good answer, because we don't know what's in their contracts with their studios or what they can and can't say about anything like that. And then they wind up saying awful things like, I can't get a beer with my buddies anymore because anytime I get a beer with my friends, everyone thinks we're gay. I'm like, no, that's not how it goes. That's not how it works. I feel like so many people and that's one of the things where, like, shipping Destiel in particular, because that's the main, or shipping Buck and Eddie from 911. Those are like my two main or Destiel's canon now, but Buck and Eddie are non-canon. But shipping same-sex couples who aren't supposed to be together, they're like, well, why can't guys just have good friendships, like close friends? I'm like, they can. I see close friendships and I see close male friendships, and I think that's wonderful. And I love seeing men being able to platonically be vulnerable and open with friends. And I love seeing that. And I love knocking down toxic masculinity wherever I can find it. However, that's not what's being done here. You're throwing romantic trope after romantic trope with these two characters who both happen to be of the same gender. And then you get scared and decide, wait, no, we can't do that. And that's what's frustrating, because I can tell the difference between friendship and romance. I can also tell you that if one of either of these character pairings had been an opposite gender, they already would be together.
Yeah.
And you don't have to change anything about the tropes or anything about what's being written. If you just change the gender of one of those characters, it's very clearly romantic. But yeah. Queerness for cishet people. I'm not sure. What is queerness for cishet people? I'm not sure what Bailey wants to know. I'm a cishet person. what does queerness mean for me? No.
Maybe it means like the media you're consuming was made for cishet people and not for queer people. Is that what you're trying to say? Because I know, like, even though, like, when we talked about Brokeback Mountain, when we did our Brokeback Mountain episode, even though, and we've already mentioned it on this episode, even though I love Brokeback Mountain, I think Brokeback Mountain is a great movie.
Mhm.
I will say to some extent that was a movie geared more towards the heterosexuals, the straight audience,
Yeah.
because it was more made where this is something we can tolerate, or that's what they were thinking. Glee, so Glee was more, and we're actually going to talk about Glee later this year, everybody. We're talking about Ryan Murphy later this year. So Ryan Murphy does a lot of problematic things. I mean, we're going to talk about Nip Tuck.
Yeah.
Which Nip Tuck has
Hey, Misha Collins is on Nip Tuck, and he plays a character who can suck his own dick.
Yes.
Which he actually apparently can do, which was not anything I ever thought I would know about a person I didn't intimately know. Well, as far as like with Brokeback Mountain, I think it was like it was ahead of its time. Because I don't think they were necessarily even trying to appeal to a cishet audience. They wanted that broad appeal, but I feel like so much of what Ang Lee was trying to do and what everyone in that movie was trying to do was to show that queerness doesn't have a type. You know what I mean? Like not every gay man you see is going to be Jack from Will and Grace. Will and Grace.
Yeah.
You know, they're not all going to be like the weak wrist flamboyant thing. That there are manly, masculine, hyper-masculine men who are also queer. Mm-hmm. And that's valid, and there doesn't have to be a quote-unquote woman of the relationship. And I think that's what they were kind of trying to do with Brokeback Mountain, is to show a very masculine queer relationship. And I honestly, like so many things, I feel like straight people kind of ruined it by they made a joke of this heartbreaking and beautiful film.
Yeah, which was sad, very sad.
It deserves so much more than what it got. And Glee, as far as Glee's concerned, anytime there was queerness really introduced in Glee, I felt like it was exploitative.
Yeah, and see, that's why it's going to be interesting to examine Ryan Murphy, because Ryan Murphy is a gay man who is very successful in the industry, but a lot of people have accused him of having some internalized homophobia. But because of a lot of the characters that he has and a lot of the tropes and we're going to be talking about Nip Tuck. We're going to be talking about American Horror Story. We're going to be talking about American Crime Story, and we're going to be talking about Glee. So, and Glee is the only one out of all of those that I've only watched like the pilot. So that's going to be one that's going to be new.
Of those for me, I've watched Glee and I've watched American Crime Story. I haven't really watched American Horror Story because I'm a weenie.
Yeah, you could not handle American Horror Story, Meg. You would be like,
I already knew that. I already knew that. And what was the other one that you were just saying that he did?
Nip Tuck.
Nip Tuck. I've been meaning to watch that, but I have not gotten around to it. But if he plays into a lot of stereotypes as far as Glee is concerned. He plays into a lot of stereotypes for queer people, and he also plays into a lot of the I'm going to bully you and I'm going to harass you and I'm going to hurt you because I am closeted, and so because I'm closeted, I'm going to bully the out kid in the school, and then I'm going to try and commit suicide because it plays so much into the trauma, which I can understand a little bit because of the time, but still, there's a point where you're like, I don't care about the time something was made. Queer kids deserve to see themselves have a happy beginning, middle, and end. Queer kids deserve to see a happy story. They deserve to see that you can grow up and you can be yourself and you can be queer and you aren't going to get bullied and you aren't going to be treated like shit, because that actually does happen for kids, and it happens more often than the kids getting bullied.
Yeah.
But what we see in the media and coming out, you see, and Aaron, you shared this beautiful thread on Twitter about people's positive coming out stories, and they were so lovely and beautiful. And I feel like more people and more as we continue on, and as our generation has children and their children are coming of age and realizing who they are, those positive stories are becoming more and more common, which is wonderful and beautiful. But our media needs to reflect that.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people who are making those movies and shows now are making that from the perspective of when we were kids. Like when Gen X was a kid, or millennials were kids, and coming out was this big traumatic experience. Most kids, like my daughter's age, who are coming out, their parents have already done so much of the work of talking to them about like your spouse, your husband or your wife, and just putting those seeds and planting those seeds in their everyday life as their children were growing up, to let them know that whoever you love is valid. Mm-hmm. And you're valid and you're loved and you're welcome no matter what. And you don't need to come out. If you want to bring a girlfriend or a boyfriend home, like, you don't need to do that. Just like I never had to come out as straight. Like I never had to tell my parents, hey, I like boys.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I do. But more media kind of showing that, I think, is so important, because the tide is turning. I feel like the tide is turning, that more and more parents are putting those seeds of reassurance in their kids as they grow up. Like I know I personally have been, since my kids were old enough to talk about, like, well, when you get married, or if you decide to get married, and if you decide to have kids, and talking about their spouse and not assigning the gender to them. And I feel like that just makes it easier for kids to be like, hey, by the way, I like girls, or I like boys, or I like both.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think it's getting better. Yeah. But we are going to go ahead and close out, because I have to close out. I have to go.
It's 3 hours. Aaron's so tired. I popped in here and Aaron is like, thanks, Meg.
No,
you added 2 hours onto my live stream.
but
I was going for the 8.
You were going for the 8 hours. We'll do that at some point, but we'd have
just
to start
me.
earlier in the day, just you. So I'll leave and Meg will just take over.
Kidding. Bailey just got home too.
Oh, see, we made it to when you got home. Okay, so
I love you, Bailey.
So Meg, where can they find Bedwed Behead?
Oh shit. Okay, so you can find us. So you can find us on all the places good podcasts are found. At Bedwed Behead. You can find us on Twitter at Bedwed Behead Pod. And I believe the same for Facebook. You can find us on Instagram at bed.wed.behead.pod. And if you want to find me personally, because you can have all of my takes, you can find me at Wisconsinach, which is, and get your bingo cards ready.
Yes.
WISCONSENNACH. And again, if you have a problem, take it up with Carla.
Yep, and that is on the bingo card. So once again, to recap, you've got Pride, Christian Bale, Shudder, horror, all laughing, supernatural, fanfic, awesome, queer as folk. Meg spells her Twitter handle. Someone sings, tangent, Netflix, We did mention Marvel DC since we did mention that, so that's on there too.
We did. Bailey, I love your face.
Drink mention, dog barking. Well, it's a dog making a noise, so I'm counting that. And sexy accountants. So Bailey, I'm sure you have bingo. Or anyone else playing, I'm sure you have bingo. Just let me know. So this is Erin. You can follow me on Twitter at @EAprilBeauty. The E and the A and the B are capitalized. Be sure to like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/It's a Fandom Thing Pod. On Twitter at Fandom Thing Pod. No, it's in that one. On Instagram at It's a Fandom Thing Pod. If you would like to be a part of our upcoming horror trivia event, you're a creator or a podcast host and you want to possibly co-host one of those 10 weeks. I'm not talking about if you want to be a contestant. Bailey got bingo. I knew you would get bingo. Feel free to reach out to us at itsafandomthingpod@gmail.com. I'm going to end again like I have been with playing our promo video. We'll have a new promo video coming early July, which will have all the rules for contestants on there as well. Reminder again that our live stream next week will be covering the movie Scare Me, and that is on Shudder. Bailey, even if you don't do horror usually, I think you can definitely watch that. You're welcome.
And if you're wondering, my dog was so thirsty for me. I couldn't hear because of my headphones. There are fireworks going on.
Oh, no wonder. Well,
and she's scared. Dog. Like she's been hiding under my desk.
Aww. Well, then I don't blame your dog. Then poor dog.
When we sign off of live, I'll show you where she is right now because she's
oh, poor thing.
She's so scared.
And I appreciate you too, Bailey. So, but yeah, Bailey, since you join almost all of ours, if you're able to join next Saturday, make sure you watch that movie. Otherwise, you will be spoiled. And it is a good movie. It's really good. It has a lot to say about the fragile white male ego, white straight male ego.
White straight men aren't fragile. They are the most American, strongest men in the world. There is nothing wrong with them ever. They are the heroes of the nation.
Yeah.
Please don't take that out of context. It's very clearly a joke.
Yeah. If anyone does, then
men are the worst.
Oh, well, Bailey's going to be out of town, but watch it anyway, Bailey. But men are the worst. So.
I'll be out of town too, Bailey.
I know. So we're going to try and drag my dog. But on our next episode, we are going to wrap up our celebration of Pride Month. This isn't a live stream, but we already recorded this. We're going to talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, which was a show I was very new to, but it was a very interesting discussion with Susie and the other Megan. So it was it's very interesting. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And then once again, you're going to see our Halloween horror trivia event thing. I know I'm plugging it like crazy, but it's going to be a big event. Lots of stuff going into it. So I have to plug it. It's going to be a blast. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter and stop Asian hate. Thank you everyone for watching. Love you all. Good night. Take care. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.